somber doom in Greek mythology, carving oracle stones of Minotaur maze warfare, ruled by balance of human fate and chimera mystery of forgotten realms. You settle into the quiet of the evening, imagine yourself transported back to the sun-baked hills of ancient Crete around 1000 BCE, where the vast palace complex of Knossos rises like a sprawling puzzle of stone and clay. This is no mere myth, but a real archaeological marvel unearthed in the early 20th century by Sir Arthur Evans, revealing the heart of the Minoan civilization. You walk its winding corridors, not as a hero from legend, but as an ordinary artisan, chisel in hand, contributing to the structures that would one day inspire tales of labyrinths and monsters. The palace, with its over 1,300 rooms connected by twisting passages, staircases, and courtyards, served as both administrative center and ceremonial hub. Historians believe its complexity may have given rise to the myth of the Minotaur's maze, a story that blended human ingenuity with fears of the unknown dot in your daily routine. You rise with the dawn, the salty Mediterranean breeze carrying the scent of olive groves and distant seas. As a stone carver, one of many craftsmen in this Bronze Age society, your work begins in the quarries near the palace. Limestone and gypsum blocks are hewn with bronze tools, simple chisels, and mallets forged from copper and tin imported from afar. These materials weren't just for building. They formed the canvas for inscriptions and reliefs that captured the essence of Minoan life. You might carve bull-leaping scenes, a ritual sport reflecting the culture's reverence for bulls, which Evans linked to the Minotaur legend. The bull, a symbol of strength and fertility, appeared in frescoes and seals, hinting at how myths evolved from real practices like animal sacrifices or athletic displays to honor deities. Survival in this era demanded resilience, craftsman-like. You lived in modest homes adjacent to the palace, sustaining families on barley bread, figs, and fish from the Aegean. Water management was key. The Minoans engineered sophisticated drainage systems with terracotta pipes, preventing floods in the rainy seasons. Your craft wasn't glamorous days spent under the relentless sun, dust coating your skin, hands calloused from repetitive strikes. Yet these efforts shaped history. Some stones you carved might have borne linear script, an undeciphered writing system used for inventories and dedications, perhaps even early oracular messages. While the Oracle of Delphi would later dominate Greek prophecy, Minoan sites like Knossos had their own divinatory traditions, with priestesses interpreting signs from nature or animal entrails. Now, consider the role of Themis, the Titaness embodying divine law and moral order, whose influence permeated later Greek society. Though a mythological figure, she represented real societal values, justice administered in assemblies, where elders weighed disputes with an eye toward balance and custom. In historical terms, Themis-inspired ideals appeared in early Greek law. Codes, like those of Draco in Athens around 620 BCE, emphasizing fairness amid chaos. You, as a craftsman, might engrave stones for public edicts, ensuring communal harmony. Themis wasn't just abstract. Her principles guided survival strategies, such as equitable resource distribution during famines or sieges. Warfare, too, wove into this tapestry. Minoan Crete, largely peaceful due to naval dominance, still prepared defenses. The palace's maze-like layout could confound invaders, a passive strategy echoing the Minotaur myth. Historical evidence from Linear tablets, a later script adapted by Mycenaeans, describes armories with bronze swords and chariots, suggesting readiness for conflict. You might carve defensive motifs, lions or serpents on walls, symbols drawn from creatures like the chimera, a fire-breathing hybrid from Lycian lore. Artifacts such as the chimera of Arezzo, an Etruscan bronze from the 4th century BCE influenced by Greek designs, depict this beast as a guardian, blending lion, goat, and snake. In ancient interpretations, the chimera symbolized natural disasters or foreign threats, its mystery rooted in volcanic landscapes of Asia Minor that inspired tales of fiery monsters. Personal stories abound in these forgotten realms. Imagine a carver named Daedalus, not the mythical inventor, but a real artisan whose name appears in Minoan records meticulously etching prophecies on Omphalos stones, navel-like markers believed to be Earth's center, as at Delphi. These stones, carved with intricate patterns, served oracular purposes, where priestesses delivered ambiguous guidance shaping kings' decisions. The balance of fate hung on such details. A misread inscription could doom a harvest or war effort. But as you pause, in your labor, gazing at the unfinished stone before you, one question lingers in the gathering dusk. How did these carved whispers of prophecy and myth truly sway the course of human events, binding the threads of justice and doom in ways yet unseen? You return to the dusty workshops of Knossos, where the air hums with the rhythmic clink of chisels against stone. As an artisan in this Minoan world around 1000 BCE, your life is one of quiet persistence, shaping the very stones that anchor Crete's spiritual and defensive fabric. The palace complex, a labyrinthine marvel, isn't just a home to kings, but a living archive of Minoan culture. Archaeologists like Sir Arthur Evans, who excavated Knossos in the early 20th century, uncovered storerooms filled with clay tablets and tools, revealing a society obsessed with record-keeping and ritual. Your task today is to carve oracle stones smooth, rounded slabs etched with symbols that priestesses might use to commune with the divine. These stones, often limestone or alabaster, were polished to a sheen, their surfaces incised with spirals, or marine motifs reflecting the Minoans' deep connection to the sea. Your craft demands precision. You select tools of bronze, sharper than flint but prone to dulling, and work alongside others in open courtyards where sunlight reveals every flaw. The stones you carve might record offerings to a deity, perhaps the snake goddess whose terracotta figurines, found in Knossos sanctuaries, depict a stern figure clutching serpents as symbol of fertility and protection. These artifacts, dated to around 1600 BCE, suggest a matriarchal reverence, possibly tied to Themis-like figures in later Greek mythology. Themis, though a later Titaness, echoes the Minoan emphasis on moral order. Historical records from Mycenaean Greece, such as Linear B tablets from Pylos circa 1400 BCE, describe offerings to divine female figures, ensuring societal harmony through ritual. You inscribe symbols that might guide a priestess's prophecy, each mark a plea for balance in a world of unpredictable harvests and distant wars. Survival in Knossos required more than craft. The Minoans engineered aqueducts and cisterns to manage water, a necessity in Crete's arid summers. You share meals of lentils and wild greens with your family, supplemented by fish from coastal nets. Communal feasts, evidenced by large cooking. Halves in Knossos, reinforced social bonds, a practical strategy to maintain loyalty during crises. Yet, your work intersects with warfare's shadow. The palace's maze-like design, with narrow corridors and dead ends, served as a defensive tactic, confusing invaders. Tablets from the later Mycenaean period list bronze weapons and chariots, hinting at Crete's readiness for conflict. You carve defensive motifs, griffins or bulls onto palace walls, their fierce imagery drawn from tales like the Chimera, a Lycian monster blending lion, goat, and serpent. Archaeological finds, like the 5th century BCE Chimera of Arezzo, show how such creatures symbolized chaos to be tamed. Their origins tied to volcanic eruptions in Asia Minor. That old ancient travelers, Themis's influence, though mythological, reflects real governance. Minoan frescoes depict assemblies, possibly councils, where disputes over land or trade were settled. You might carve edicts on stone, formalizing rules to prevent feuds. These practices prefigure later Greek Peleus, where justice was administered in agoras. But the oracle stones you craft carry a heavier weight. Priestesses interpreting their cryptic marks advised leaders on war or alliances. A single misinterpreted prophecy could shift Crete's fate, as seen in later Greek tales where oracles spurred disastrous campaigns, like Xerxes' invasion in 480 BCE. Personal stories weave through this toil. Imagine a fellow carver, Clemene, whose name appears in Linear A inscriptions. She dedicates her stones to a goddess, hoping for her son's safe return from a trading voyage to Egypt. Such voyages, documented in Minoan seal stones depicting ships, were perilous but vital for tin and copper, your own work feels endless, each stone a silent prayer against doom. Yet, as you etch a final spiral under flickering lamplight, a question haunts you. What unseen forces guided these prophecies? And how did they shape the wars and fates now lost to time? You linger in the fading light of Knossos, your chisel resting on the oracle stone now etched with symbols that might foretell prosperity or ruin. As a Minoan artisan around 1000 BCE, your work culminates in these quiet acts of creation, bridging the mundane and the mystical. The palace, with its intricate frescoes and storage jars brimming with olive oil and grain, stands as a testament to a civilization that thrived for centuries before its enigmatic decline. Historians debate the causes of volcanic eruption on Thera around 1628 BCE, evidenced by ash layers and pumice vines, or Mycenaean invasions documented in Linear tablets from mainland Greece. Whatever the trigger, your carved stones, symbols of prophecy and order, would have been consulted in those final days, as priestesses sought guidance amid trembling earth and encroaching shadows. The resolution of this era's story lies in the subtle interplay of craft, justice, and survival. Themis, the embodiment of moral balance in later Greek lore, finds echoes in Minoan practices. Archaeological evidence from Knossos reveals throne rooms where rulers, possibly advised by councils, dispensed justice resolving disputes over water, rights, or trade routes. You, inscribing edicts on stone, contribute to this equilibrium, ensuring that chaos, like the mythical chimera's fury, is contained. The chimera, inspired by real Anatolian landscapes with natural gas vents that burned, eternally symbolized untamed forces. Bellerophon's slaying of it in Hesiod's Theogony circa 700 BCE reflects historical themes of heroism against natural perils, much like Minoans fortifying against earthquakes. With flexible wooden frames in their buildings, warfare's climax in this narrative isn't grand battles, but the strategic foresight embedded in your maze-like palace. The Minotaur myth, possibly rooted in bull cults and sacrificial rituals, masks a real defensive genius. Narrow passages and hidden storerooms allowed for guerrilla tactics, preserving food supplies during sieges. Linear records from Mycenaean sites like Mycenae describe similar preparations, with bronze armor and chariots amassed for protection. Your oracle stones, carved with prophetic motifs, might have influenced decisions to ally or resist, their ambiguity a double-edged sword. In one documented ambiguity, the Delphic oracle's vague advice to Croesus in 546 BCE led to his downfall against Persia, illustrating how prophecies could seal fates. Human resilience shines through ordinary lives. Families like yours adapted, women weaving textiles for trade, children learning crafts in workshops. Survival strategies included diversified agriculture, olives, grapes, and sheep buffered against droughts. Personal tales, inferred from burial goods like carved seals in tombs, speak of artisans honored in death, their tools interred as symbols of legacy. As Crete fell, perhaps to environmental catastrophe or conquest, these elements converged in a somber doom. The palace burned around 1450 BCE, layers of ash preserving frescoes that whisper of lost grandeur. Reflecting on this, consider how these ancient threads weave into our modern tapestry. The balance of fate, once carved in stone, now informs ethical frameworks in law and governance, reminding us that justice amid chaos is fragile. Survival lessons from Minoan ingenuity echo in contemporary disaster preparedness, where community and foresight mitigate impending threats. Yet, the mystery of forgotten realms persists. What prophecies remain undeciphered in our own lives, guiding us toward unseen dooms or salvations? Greek mythology's somber craft, God's intervention, ploy strategies, balance of human fate, and Sphinx's medieval life's echoes. Picture yourself in the bustling agora of ancient Thebes, around 1200 BCE, amid the Mycenaean era's waning days. The city, perched on a hill in Boeotia, Greece, buzzes with merchants haggling over bronze tools and pottery, while the scent of baking bread mingles with incense from nearby temples. You are not a king or warrior, but a humble potter, shaping clay into vessels that hold the stories of gods and mortals alike. Archaeological digs at Thebes, led by figures like Spyros Iakovadis in the 20th century, have revealed palaces with storerooms full of such pottery inscribed with Linear script, detailing offerings and inventories. These artifacts ground the myths in reality, showing how daily crafts intertwined with divine narratives. Your day begins at the kiln, where you knead clay sourced from local riverbeds, mixed with water and temper to prevent cracking. Mycenaean pottery, often decorated with geometric patterns or mythical scenes, served practical purposes, storing olive oil, wine, or grains essential for survival. You might paint a scene of gods intervening in human affairs, inspired by oral tales that would later form Homer's epics. The gods' ploys, like Zeus's disguises in myths, reflect historical strategies, rulers invoking divine will to justify actions, as seen in inscriptions from Hittite treaties around 1250 BCE, where gods sanctioned alliances. Balance of human fate, embodied by Themis, permeates your world. As a titaness of justice, her principles appear in early Greek assemblies, where disputes were settled communally. You craft amphorae for libations at these gatherings, ensuring moral order through ritual. Historical evidence from the Code of Hammurabi circa 1750 BCE, influencing Mediterranean cultures, shows similar emphasis on equitable laws in Thebes. Elders might consult your inscribed pots for omens, blending craft with prophecy. The Sphinx, a riddle-bearing guardian from Theban. Law echoes in your designs. Rooted in Egyptian influences, massive sphinxes at Giza from 2500 BCE, the Greek version, as in Sophocles' Oedipus Rex circa 30 BCE, symbolizes enigmatic threats. You etch her form onto vases, her lion body, bird wings, and human head, representing hybrid dangers. Perhaps inspired by real Asiatic lions that roamed Greece until 100 BCE. Medieval echoes emerge later. Byzantine art from the 6th century CE repurposed Sphinx motifs in mosaics, linking ancient mysteries to Christian allegories of wisdom and peril. Survival demands ingenuity. Mycenaeans fortified cities with cyclopean walls, massive stones. You help transport, defending against invasions. Diets of barley porridge and lentils sustained you through lean times, with communal storage pits preventing famine. Personal stories abound. A potter named Euryclea, mentioned in Linear tablets as a craftswoman, might dedicate her work to appease gods, hoping for family safety amid earthquakes or raids. But as you fire your latest vessel, watching flames dance like divine interventions, one thought remains unresolved. How did these crafted symbols of gods and riddles truly influence the fates of those who beheld them, steering lives toward harmony or hidden dooms? You step back into the potter's workshop in ancient Thebes, around 1200 BCE, where the clay wheel spins slowly under your steady hands. The city, a hub of Mycenaean power, sprawls across 7 gates, its massive walls built from stones so large that later Greeks attributed them to Cyclops. Excavations at sites like the Cadmea Palace have uncovered kilns and shards, painting a picture of a craft-driven economy. As a potter, you form vessels not just for utility, but as canvases for myths, your fingers pressing motifs that capture gods meddling in mortal affairs. These interventions, like Athena's guidance in the Iliad circa 8th century BCE, mirror historical ploys where leaders claimed divine backing for strategies. As in Hittite annals describing gods aiding battles around 1300 BCE, your routine is methodical, mixing clay with sand to strengthen it, then shaping it on the wheel powered by foot or assistant. Mycenaean stirrup jars, with their full spouts for easy pouring, were exported across the Mediterranean, carrying olive oil or perfumes. You decorate with slipper liquid clay paint, depicting scenes of divine trickery, such as Hermes stealing Apollo's cattle, a tale from the Homeric hymns reflecting real cattle raids in Bronze Age Greece. These stories, passed orally, helped communities navigate uncertainties, blending entertainment with moral lessons. The balance of human fate, guided by Themis's archetype, shapes your society. In Thebes, assemblies met in open spaces, resolving conflicts over inheritance or water access. Linear tablets from Pylos list similar proceedings, with scribes recording verdicts to maintain order. You craft ceremonial bowls for these events, inscribed with symbols invoking justice, ensuring that personal vendettas didn't spiral into chaos. Themis' influence extended to survival tactics. Equitable grain distribution from palace silos during droughts, evidenced by storage pithoi holding thousands of liters. Families like yours relied on such systems, grinding wheat into flour and preserving fish in salt. Staples that sustained through lean winters. The Sphinx's enigma looms in your art. You etch her hybrid form: lion's body, eagle's wings. Woman's head onto craters used for mixing wine at symposia, originating from Egyptian guardians like the Great Sphinx at Giza circa 2500 BCE. The Greek Sphinx posed riddles in Oedipus's tale, symbolizing intellectual battles. Historical parallels appear in Mesopotamian Lamassu figures, protective hybrids from 900 BCE, influencing Greek designs. Medieval echoes persist in 12th century CE Byzantine manuscripts. Sphinxes adorn illuminations, blending pagan mysteries with Christian symbolism in works like the Madrid skylights, illustrating riddles of faith and fate. War strategies intertwine with your craft. Thebes prepared for sieges with stockpiled arrows and shields, as described in tablets from Knossos. God's ploys in myths like Poseidon's earthquakes echo real seismic events that toppled fortifications. You paint battle scenes on vases, perhaps commemorating the Seven against Thebes, a historical kernel of clan rivalries around 1200 BCE. Personal resilience shines. A potter's family, facing invasion, might bury valuables as found in hoards, like the one at Mycenae with gold masks, yet, as you seal your kiln, smoke curling like Sphinx's riddles. A deeper query emerges: in what ways did these divine strategies and balanced fates truly alter the paths of ordinary lives, leading toward resolutions shrouded in time? You return to the warmth of your kiln in ancient Thebes, around 1200 BCE. As the final vessel emerges from the flames, its surface hardened and adorned with tales of divine ploys and enigmatic guardians. As a potter in this Mycenaean stronghold, your creations now stand as silent witnesses to an era teetering on the brink of transformation. The city, with its imposing cyclopean walls, boulders fitted without mortar, weighing tons and hauled by teams of laborers like yourself, symbolizes both defiance and vulnerability. Archaeological evidence from sites such as the palace at Thebes reveals layers of destruction around this time, attributed to earthquakes or invasions, marking the end of the Bronze Age palace economies. Your pottery, once traded far and wide, now serves a more immediate purpose, storing provisions against uncertain times. As whispers of distant threats filter through the agora, the gods' intervention strategies, so vividly captured in your designs, find resolution in the everyday machinations of rulers and communities. Myths like those in the Odyssey, composed centuries later but rooted in oral traditions of your era, depict deities shaping outcomes through subtle manipulations. Odysseus's cunning, aided by Athena, echoing real Mycenaean tactics in diplomacy and warfare. Historical parallels emerge from linear archives at Knossos and Pylos, listing tribute to gods before campaigns where leaders invoke divine favor to rally troops. You might inscribe a vessel with Zeus's thunderbolt, a symbol not just of power but of strategic deterrence in practice. Mycenaean kings used such iconography on seals to legitimize raids for resources like bronze, scarce in Greece but imported from Cyprus or Anatolia. These ploys ensured survival amid rivalries, as alliances shifted like the winds over the Boeotian plains. Balance of human fate, upheld by Themis' enduring legacy, reaches its culmination in communal resilience in Thebes as crises loomed. Assemblies documented in later Greek histories like Herodotus's accounts of early Peleis, evolved from Mycenaean precedents where Wainak's kings consulted elders on matters of justice. Your ceremonial pots, filled with wine for libations, facilitated these gatherings, fostering equity in resource allocation. archaeological finds of storage facilities, with pithoi sealed against rodents and labeled in Linear B, highlight practical justice, grain doled out by weight during famines, preventing unrest. Families adapted through diversified labor, women spun wool for textiles exported to Egypt, while children apprenticed in workshops, learning to mix clay resists for firing. Personal stories reflect this tenacity. A potter like you might bury a hoard of tools and unfinished vases as excavated in Theban tombs, safeguarding craft knowledge for posterity amid seismic upheavals that cracked palace foundations. The Sphinx's riddle, etched into your craters, resolves in the broader tapestry of cultural echoes, bridging ancient enigmas to medieval reinterpretations. In Mycenaean art, hybrid creatures like the Sphinx guarded thresholds inspired by Near Eastern imports via trade routes, cylinder seals from Mesopotamia dating to 1400 BCE, show similar motifs influencing Greek designs, as Thebes faced decline possibly from the Sea People's incursions around 1180 BCE, evidenced by destruction layers across the eastern Mediterranean. Such symbols took on prophetic weight, riddles unsolved leading to downfall. Medieval continuations appear in Romanesque churches of the 11th century CE, where sphinx-like grotesques adorned capitals, symbolizing moral dilemmas in Christian doctrine, as seen in the Abbey of Vézelay's sculptures blending pagan lore with biblical warnings. Wars. Somber climax unfolds not in epic clashes, but in defensive preparations woven into daily craft. Tablets from Mycenae detail chariot repairs and arrow production, mirroring your contributions. Pots for storing pitch to fire arrows, or oil for lamps during night watches, the Seven against Thebes, a myth with historical roots in factional strife, might inspire your battle scenes, painted with ochre and manganese slips. As invasions mounted, resilience shown in ordinary acts, communities relocating to hilltop refuges, preserving seeds and tools. The era's end, around 1100 BCE, saw palaces abandoned, but pottery styles evolved into proto-geometric wares, carrying forward techniques you honed. Reflecting on this, ponder how these ancient crafts and myths endure in our world. The gods' ploys inform modern strategy in diplomacy and psychology. Where narratives shape public will, Themis's balance echoes in legal systems emphasizing fairness, while the Sphinx's riddles remind us of life's persistent enigmas in philosophy and puzzles. Survival lessons from Mycenaean ingenuity, communal storage, and adaptive crafts parallel today's sustainability efforts, urging foresight against global challenges. Yet, what unresolved riddles in our own histories continue to steer fates, whispering of dooms or redemptions yet to unfold? The timeless verdict of Themis, Greek mythology's Cyclops ambush, and designing Trojan gifts in hubris family dynamics of Godsus twilight settles. Over the rugged hills of ancient Greece, around 1250 BCE, imagine yourself as a humble blacksmith. In the shadow of Mycenae's towering Lion Gate, a monumental entryway carved from limestone slabs, its twin lions glaring down as symbols of royal might. You stand in a smoky forge, hammering bronze into weapons that sustain the Mycenaean world's martial pulse. This is no mythical realm of gods and monsters, but a gritty Bronze Age society, its wealth and power unearthed by Heinrich Schliemann. In the 19th century, revealing gold masks and fortified citadels, your forge, nestled near the palace, hums with the clatter of tools and the heat of glowing embers, crafting blades and shields for warriors who guard trade routes stretching to Crete and Anatolia. Your day begins before dawn, stoking the fire with olive wood, the air thick with soot and the tang of molten metal. As a blacksmith, you work copper and tin imported from distant Cyprus or the Taurus Mountains into swords and spearheads, their edges honed on whetstones sourced from local quarries. These weapons, found in Mycenaean shaft graves dated to 1600 to 1200 BCE, were not just tools of war but status symbols, etched with hunting scenes or inlaid with gold. You might craft a dagger depicting a lion hunt, a nod to the Cyclops, the one-eyed giants of myth whose brute strength in Homer's Odyssey circa 8th century BCE mirrors the raw power of Mycenaean warlords. The Cyclops legend, possibly inspired by fossilized elephant skulls with nasal cavities mistaken for eye sockets, reflects real fears of untamed forces, human or natural, lurking beyond city walls. Survival in this era hinges on skill and community. You live in a modest stone house near the forge, eating barley porridge and lentils, occasionally bartering for fish or wild boar. Mycenaeans engineered gravity-fed springs, channeling water to settlements, a necessity in arid summers. Your labor isn't solitary. Apprentices, often kin, assist in bellows work, while women in your household spin wool for trade. Communal feasts, evidenced by cooking hearths in palace courtyards, bind the community, reinforcing loyalty amid threats of raids. Linear tablets from Mycenae record rations for craftsmen like you, ensuring sustenance during lean times, a practical balance rooted in the ideals of Themis, the tightness of divine law. Themis's influence permeates your world, her principles of justice guiding Mycenaean governance. Palatial records describe councils where disputes over land or tribute were settled, echoing Themis's role in maintaining cosmic order. You might forge bronze plaques for edicts, inscribed with linear to formalize agreements, a practice prefiguring later Greek law codes like those of Solon in 594 BCE. These efforts curbed hubris, excessive pride that sparked clan feuds, a dynamic reflected in myths where gods punished mortal arrogance. Like Agamemnon's doomed pride in the Iliad, your work intersects with warfare's grim reality, ambushes by rival clans, as documented in tablets listing chariot deployments, required cunning designs like lightweight shields for sudden strikes. The Trojan War, looming in oral tales, inspires your craft. You shape a ceremonial helmet, its boar-tusk plates sewn onto leather, a design found in Mycenaean tombs and later immortalized in Homer's epics. These Trojan gifts, offerings, or deceptive ploys echo historical exchanges, where bronze goods secured alliances or masked betrayal, as seen in Hittite diplomatic letters from 1300 BCE. Hubris, the fatal flaw, weaves through these stories, a warning carved into your metalwork. Yet, as you quench a glowing blade in water, steam rising like an oracle's mist, a question lingers. How did these crafted tools of war and justice shape the fates of those who wielded them, steering Mycenae toward glory or ruin? You return to the forge in ancient Mycenae around 1250 BCE, the hammers ring echoing off the Cyclopean walls that encircle the citadel, like unyielding guardians. As a blacksmith, your hands, scarred from years of toil, now shape not just weapons, but the intricate designs that blend utility with symbolism, drawing from myths that swell through the oral traditions of your people. The Lion Gate, with its massive lintel weighing over 100 tons, stands as a testament to engineering feats achieved through communal labor teams of workers, like you hauling stones with wooden rollers and levers, a process inferred from wear marks on excavated pathways. These fortifications, built to withstand sieges, reflect the era's constant vigilance, as linear tablets from nearby Pylos detail inventories of bronze ingots allocated for defense. Your routine deepens with the melting of ores in clay crucibles, heated by charcoal bellows pumped rhythmically to achieve the perfect alloy. You craft spearheads with flank edges for better penetration, designs evolving from earlier Minoan influences and found in warrior graves at Mycenae, complete with inlaid niello, a black sulfide mixture for decorative motifs. These pieces evoke the Cyclops ambush in myths, where the one-eyed smiths forged thunderbolts for Zeus, their brute force symbolizing untamed craftsmanship. Historical echoes appear in Anatolian folklore, where similar giant tales may stem from. Hittite miners in cavernous shafts, their forges inspiring stories of subterranean ambushes. You might engrave a shield with a cyclops eye, a protective emblem against raids, blending myth with practical warding. Themis's verdict on justice extends into your craft's moral fabric. In Mycenaean society, palatial scribes recorded oaths sworn before assemblies, invoking divine balance to resolve inheritance disputes or trade conflicts. You forge bronze tripods for ritual offerings at these gatherings, their legs inscribed with dedications to maintain harmony, a practice that foreshadowed the Delphic oracle's role. In later arbitration, Hubris, the overreach that disrupts this balance, manifests in family dynamics akin to godly rivalries, myths of Zeus's kin feuding over power Mira, real Mycenaean clan struggles as evidenced by multiple Tholos tombs suggesting competing lineages. Your work supports these hierarchies, designing ceremonial daggers for elite burials, ensuring loyalty through gifted arms, yet hubris could spark internal ambushes, like those hinted at in palace destruction layers from rival factions. Survival strategies weave through this narrative. Mycenaeans stockpiled grain in silo-like pits, sealed with clay to deter pests, while your family preserves olives in brine for winter sustenance. Trade voyages to Troy, a real Hittite ally city known as Wilusa in records, brought amber and slaves, but required Trojan gifts, bronze vessels exchanged to secure pacts, deceptive in times of strain. Archaeological finds from Uliburan shipwreck circa 1300 BCE reveal such cargo, including ingots you might have smelted. Personal stories emerge. A fellow smith, perhaps named Telemon from tablet mentions, forges a chariot axle while fearing his son's conscription into ambushes against Boeotian rivals. His hubris and boasting skills leading to envy-fueled disputes settled by Themis-inspired councils. War's shadow lengthens with designs for ambush tactics, U-shaped lightweight javelins for hit-and-run strikes, inspired by Cyclops like brute force in terrain traps as described in later epic fragments. These ploys, rooted in historical skirmishes with sea peoples, demanded cunning over brute strength, balancing fate through strategic gifts to allies. But as embers fade in your forge, a deeper uncertainty arises. In what manner did hubris within these godly family echoes unravel the threads of justice, precipitating Mycenae's inexorable decline? You linger in the cooling forge of ancient Mycenae, around 1250 BCE, as the last sparks die out, your crafted weapons stacked neatly, ready for the warriors who will carry them into the fray. As a blacksmith, your labor now converges with the era's mounting tensions, where hubris and justice collide in the final acts of Mycenaean dominance. The citadel, perched on its rocky acropolis, overlooks fertile plains dotted with olive groves. But beneath this prosperity lies fragility. Archaeological evidence from the site's treasury of Atrus, a beehive tomb dated to 1350 BCE, reveals opulent burials that mask internal strife, with multiple royal lineages vying for power through displays of wealth and arms. The Cyclops ambush motif in your designs resolves in the stark realities of warfare, where mythical brute force meets historical guerrilla tactics. Myths from Hesiod's Theogony circa 700 BCE portray Cyclops as forgers of divine weapons, their one-eyed gaze symbolizing focused aggression in practice. Mycenaean ambushes targeted trade caravans, using terrain like the Corinthian Isthmus for surprise attacks, as inferred from Linear B records of scout deployments. You might finalize a bronze greave, its hammered surface etched with a Cyclops hammer, a talisman for soldiers employing hit-and-run strategies against Hittite or Minoan rivals. These ploys, driven by hubris overconfidence in Mycenaean naval supremacy, often backfired, leading to retaliatory sieges that strained resources. Themis's timeless verdict reaches its somber climax in the unraveling of societal balance. Hubris within family dynamics, akin to the gods' feuds in myths where Zeus overthrew Cronus, mirrors real Mycenaean palace intrigues. Tablets from Turin's describe disputes over inheritance, settled in councils but sometimes erupting into violence, contributing to the Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BCE. Your Trojan gifts, bronze vessels or daggers offered in diplomacy embody this duality, intended to forge alliances with Troy identified as Hisarlik in modern Turkey. Excavated by Schliemann, they could conceal betrayal as in Homer's tale of the wooden horse, possibly rooted in deceptive siege engines. Historical letters from the Amarna archive circa 1350 BCE show similar gift exchanges between Egyptian pharaohs and Mycenaean kings, laced with political maneuvering that sowed distrust. Survival's resolution lies in communal adaptation amid decline, as invasions by sea peoples documented in Egyptian inscriptions from Ramesses III around 1177 BCE loomed, families like yours diversified, forging tools for agriculture alongside weapons, ploughing fields with bronze sickles to bolster food. Stores. Personal resilience echoes in stories of artisans, a smith named Waynax, mentioned in Pylos tablets as overseeing bronze allocation, might ration metal during shortages, his hubris tempered by Themis-like equity to avert famine. Earthquakes frequent in the region and evidenced by fault lines near Mycenae compounded woes, toppling walls and forcing relocations to simpler villages. The era's doom culminates in fiery destruction layers at Mycenae around 1190 BCE, attributed to a mix of drought, overextension, and internal hubris-fueled conflicts. Palaces burned, but your craft endured pottery and metal techniques passed to Iron Age successors, laying foundations for classical Greece. Reflecting on this, consider how Themis's pursuit of balance amid hubris informs our era. Mycenaean lessons in overreach echo in modern geopolitics, where diplomatic gifts mask ambitions, and justice systems strive to curb familial or corporate excesses. Survival through adaptation resonates in crisis management, from climate resilience to resource equity. Yet, what echoes of ancient hubris linger in our own designs? Tempting fates we cannot foresee? Greek mythology unveiled. Ominous Amazon warriors assault, crafting golden chariots. Order amid chaos, and hubris's mystery of forgotten realms. Amazon's shadow over the Aeganew stand on the windswept cliffs of Lesbos around 1200 BCE. A potter in a coastal village where the Aegean Sea's salt-laden breezes mingle with the scent of drying clay. Your hands shape vessels from local earth, fired in kilns fueled by olive branches, crafting amphorae for oil and wine that sustain trade with distant Troy and Crete. This is the Bronze Age, a world of Mycenaean strongholds, their cyclopean walls, looming like silent sentinels, unearthed centuries later by archaeologists like Carl Blegen. Your village, nestled between rugged hills and pebbled shores, thrives on maritime exchange, its harbour bustling with ships carrying amber, tin, and tales of fierce Amazon warriors, women of myth, whose assaults echo real tribal raids along Anatolian coasts. Each dawn, you need clay mixed with crushed shells, a technique honed over generations, producing pots found in shipwrecks like the Uluburan, dated to 1300 BCE. These vessels, etched with geometric spirals, are bartered for copper ingots, essential for bronze tools that arm local warriors. The Amazons, celebrated in later epics like the Iliad circa 8th century BCE, are said to dwell in Pontus, their horseback raids striking fear into settled communities. Historical records from Hittite archives mention matriarchal tribes, possibly the Kaskians, whose hit-and-run tactics mirror the mythical Amazons' ferocity. You might paint a vase with their image tall, shield-bearing women wielding bow, symbols of chaos threatening your ordered world. Survival demands vigilance and cooperation. Your village maintains watchtowers, their limestone blocks quarried from nearby hills, signaling raids with bonfires. You store grain in clay-lined pits, sealed against dampness, a practice evidenced by Mycenaean granaries. Communal feasts with roasted goat and barley bread strengthen bonds, as do shared rituals invoking Athena, goddess of strategy, whose wisdom counters the Amazons' wild hubris. Linear B tablets from Pylos record tributes of pottery to secure alliances, a fragile order amid growing threats. Your family, including your daughter who spins flax into thread, relies on these networks, trading pots for fish or wool to weather lean winters. The Amazons' legend carries a warning of hubris overreach that disrupts balance. Myths describe their queen, Penthesilea, clashing with Achilles at Troy, her pride leading to doom. In your village, hubris appears in reckless traders who defy pirate-prone routes, risking capture. You craft a ceremonial urn for a council meeting, its surface depicting a chariot, perhaps a nod to the golden chariots of myth, symbols of divine favor. These vehicles, detailed in Hittite texts as gifts to seal pacts, were real wooden frames, clad in bronze found in warrior graves, yet their gleam masks tensions. As rival clans vie for power, their disputes settled by elders invoking a nascent sense of justice. As you glaze a pot under the fading sun, the horizon darkens with the threat of an Amazon raid, their shadows looming in whispered tales. How did these fierce women, real or mythic, shape the fragile order of your world? Teetering between chaos and control, crafting chariots amid rising tension show Neil in your Lesbos workshop. Around 1200 BCE, the air thick with clay dust and the rhythmic creak of a potter's wheel. Beyond your village's limestone walls, the Aegean whispers of unrest rumors of Amazon warriors raiding coastal settlements, their ferocity echoing in tales carried by traders from Troy. As a potter, your craft now shifts to meet the demands of a wary community, shaping not just amphorae but ceremonial vessels for rituals meant to appease gods and maintain order. Mycenaean society, with its fortified citadels like turrets excavated by Wilhelm Dörpfeld, relies on such crafts to bolster alliances and ward off chaos. Your hands, calloused from years of molding clay, now etch chariot motifs golden in myth, bronze-clad in reality onto urns, symbols of mobility and power. Your day revolves around the kiln, stoked with olive wood to reach temperatures high enough to vitrify clay, a technique refined through Minoan influences. You craft a lidded pyxis, its surface painted with warriors in chariots, inspired by frescoes found in Mycenae's palace halls, dated to 1300 BCE. These chariots, lightweight with willow frames and bronze fittings, were real as Lineabe tablets from Knossos list their production for elite warriors. The Amazons, possibly rooted in historical tribes like the Sauromations, wielded bows from horseback, outpacing such chariots in ambushes. You might add an Amazon archer to your design, her image a talisman against raids that disrupt trade routes. To Hittite lands, survival hinges on ingenuity and community. Your village fortifies its harbor, piling stones to deter landings, a practice mirrored in coastal sites like Gla. You barter pots for barley or dried fish, storing them in clay jars, sealed with wax to survive lean seasons. Communal councils, recorded in Lineabe as gatherings of elders, invoke divine order akin to Zeus's decrees in myth to settle disputes over grazing lands. Hubris threatens this balance. A rival potter, perhaps named Eumaeus from Tablet, records boast superior wares, sparking feuds that require mediation. Your ceremonial urns, offered at these meetings, bear geometric patterns symbolizing harmony, their creation a quiet act of defiance against chaos. The Amazons' mythic assaults reflect real fears. Hittite texts from 1250 BCE describe skirmishes with nomadic groups, their tactics resembling the hit-and-run strikes of legend. You craft a votive chariot model, its wheels incised with solar motifs for a ritual to Athena. Praying for strategic wisdom, these golden chariots, celebrated in epic tales, were diplomatic gifts like those exchanged with Egypt are seen in Amarna letters. Yet, hubris lurks in their gleam over confident warlords trusting in chariots, risk defeat in rugged terrains where Amazons excel. A personal tale emerges. Your cousin, a sailor, recounts a narrow escape from raiders, his survival owed to a swift boat, not a chariot's might. As you seal a pot with a warrior's silhouette, the threat of an Amazon assault grows, their shadows, cast by flickering torchlight. How did your craft, blending art and utility, navigate the chaos of hubris to uphold a fragile order? The fragile balance of order and doom you stand in the dim light of your Lesbos workshop. Around 1200 BCE, as the Aegean's restless waves echo the turmoil gripping your world, the kiln's embers glow faintly. Your latest creation, a tall amphora, painted with a chariot charge against Amazon warriors cooling nearby. The Mycenaean era, with its fortified citadels like Mycenae, excavated by Sophia Schliemann, teeters on the edge of collapse, its order fraying under raids and hubris. Your pottery, once mere trade, goods, now carries the weight of ritual, offered to gods like Athena to restore balance amid chaos. The Amazons, mythic yet rooted in real nomadic tribes like the Cimmerians, loom large, their assaults on coastal villages like yours disrupting the fragile networks of Bronze Age Greece. Your craft reflects this tension. You shape a ceremonial crater, its surface depicting a fallen Amazon, her bow broken, a nod to myths like Penthesilea's defeat at Troy. recorded in the Ethiopis circa 7th century BCE. Such vessels, found in Mycenaean tombs, were used in feasts to honor the dead, binding communities against threats. Historical parallels exist in Hittite records of 1220 BCE, describing raids by horse-riding tribes, their tactics mirroring the Amazon's swift strikes. Your village, its harbor now guarded by wooden palisades, relies on your pots to trade for bronze. Crafting spearheads to repel invaders, linear tablets from pillars list such exchanges, underscoring the communal effort to survive. Hubris undoes this delicate order. Myths warn of Amazons defying divine law, their pride echoing real warlords who overextended trade routes, inviting raids. In your village, a merchant named Cleminos, known from tablet tallies, hoards grain, sparking unrest until elders enforce equitable shares, invoking Athena's justice. Your crater, etched with chariot wheels, becomes a golden charioting, ritual symbolic of mobility yet heavy with the cost of pride. As chariots falter in Lesbos's rocky hills, unlike the Amazon's nimble horses, archaeological finds like chariot fragments in warrior graves confirm their use, but also their limits against agile foes. Survival demands adaptation. As raids intensify, your family diversifies, crafting smaller pots for local barter olives, lentils, fish stored in clay jars to outlast sieges, communal granaries sealed with mud. Mirror strategies found at Turins, ensuring food security. A personal story lingers. Your nephew, a lookout, spots Amazon-like raiders, his warning saving the village but costing his life in a skirmish. His sacrifice, mourned at a feast with your crater, reinforces collective resilience. A faint echo of Athena's ordered wisdom, the Mycenaean world's doom, evident in destruction layers at around 1190 BCE, stems from hubris over alliance. On walls and chariots, compounded by droughts noted in tree-ring data, your craft endures, its techniques preserved in Iron Age pottery, shaping classical Greece's aesthetic. Reflecting on this, the Amazon's shadow warns of pride's cost in modern times. Overconfident systems, from economies to alliances, risk collapse without balanced justice. Your pots, humble yet enduring, ask, what hubris lingers in our creations, threatening the order we strive to maintain? Greek mythology unveiled. Reverent Minotaur maize warfare, brewing nectar potions, justice's gloomy scales, and prophecy's family dynamics of God's labyrinths shadow over Crete you awaken before dawn on the island of Crete, around 1450 BCE. A brewer in the sprawling palace of Knossos, its frescoed walls vibrant with bull-leaping scenes. The Minoan world, uncovered by Arthur Evans in the early 20th century, thrums with trade and ritual. Its multi-storied complex a hub of commerce reaching Egypt and the Levant. Your brewery, tucked beneath limestone arches, smells of fermenting barley and honey as you craft beer and mead nectar-like brews for feasts and offerings. The Minotaur, a monstrous myth of a bull-headed man lurking in a labyrinth, haunts the edges of your world, its tale rooted in Crete's bull cult and the palace's maze-like corridors, possibly inspiring later Greek stories in the Theseus cycle circa 8th century BCE. Closing parenthesis. Your day begins with grinding barley, sourced from terraced fields in stone querns, mixing it with water from Knossos' clay-piped aqueducts, a marvel of Minoan engineering. You ferment the mash in pithoi, large ceramic jars, some found intact in palace storerooms. Dated to 1600 BCE, these brews, laced with herbs like coriander, are poured into ridens shaped like bulls' heads, used in rituals to honor Poseidon, god of the sea and earthquakes, whose tremors shake Crete's rocky hills. The Minotaur legend, perhaps born from sacrificial rites in Knossos' courtyards, reflects fears of chaos beneath the palace's ordered facade. Much like the volcanic eruption of Thera circa 1500 BCE, that weakened Minoan power, survival depends on your craft's role in the community. Your brewery supplies feasts where elites, adorned in gold jewelry found in Minoan graves, negotiate trade with Mycenaean visitors. Linear tablets, undeciphered but listing goods, suggest rations for workers like you, ensuring barley and figs for your family. You live in a modest stone house near the palace, sharing meals of lentils and goat with your kin, who weave flax into cloth for trade. Communal bonds, strengthened by shared libations at bull-leaping ceremonies, counter threats of piracy, as Minoan ships, depicted in agrotary frescoes, patrol the Aegean. Justice, embodied by the goddess Dike, daughter of Zeus, guides Knossos' order. Palace archives hint at councils resolving disputes over land or tribute. A precursor to later Greek law, you might brew a special mead for these gatherings, its sweetness symbolizing harmony, poured from a jug painted with spirals. Yet hubris, locksmiths of King Minos' pride, demanding tributes for the Minotaur. Eco-real Minoan overlords who taxed distant islands, risking revolt. Your brews, offered to appease gods, carry whispers of prophecy, as oracles in later myths foretold Crete's fate. As you stir a bubbling vat under torchlight, the Minotaur's shadow looms in tales told by sailors, its maze a metaphor for Crete's complex alliances. How did your humble brews, steeped in ritual and survival, navigate the labyrinth of power and prophecy threatening Knossos' fall? Brewing nectar amid Minoan tension shows stand in the heart of Knossos, around 1450 BCE, your brewery humming with the sour tang of fermenting barley and the sweet aroma of honey-soaked herbs. The Minoan palace, its labyrinthine halls adorned with frescoes of leaping bulls, buzzes with activity as traders from Egypt and Mycenae barter for your brews. Excavations by Arthur Evans revealed Knossos as a hub of commerce, its storerooms, packed with pithoi holding your beer and mead nectar-like potions revered in rituals and feasts. The Minotaur myth, a tale of a beast trapped in a maze, swirls through Crete's oral traditions, possibly inspired by the palace's complex layout or bull sacrifices. As evidenced by altar remains dated to 1600 BCE, your work is meticulous. You steep barley in clay vats, adding wild thyme and saffron, spices traded from Santorini, to craft brews for sacred rites. These potions, poured into conical rhytons found in Knossos' sanctuaries, honor Poseidon, whose earthquakes threaten Crete's stability, as seen in seismic cracks in palace walls. The Minotaur's story, later codified in Ovid's Metamorphoses, 08 CE, reflects real fears of disorder raids by sea pirates or Mycenaean rivals. Noted in Linear A tablets listing naval defenses, you might etch a bull's head on a jug, a nod to the Minotaur, its image a ward against chaos in a world of fragile alliances. Survival weaves through communal effort. Your family, living in a stone house near Knossos' north gate, preserves figs and olives in your jars, a practice mirrored in Minoan storerooms. You trade brews for wool or copper, ensuring winter sustenance, while your sister weaves textiles for export, as seen in trade records from Ugarit. Palace councils, invoking Deke's justice, settle disputes over grazing rights, their rulings etched on clay, foreshadowing later Greek legal codes. Hubris threatens this order. A merchant, perhaps named Pasiphae in local tales, demands exorbitant tribute for wine, echoing Minos' mythical greed, sparking tensions resolved only through ritual offerings of your mead. The Minotaur's maze resonates in Crete's defenses, Knossos' winding corridors, possibly a model for Daedalus' labyrinth in myth, confuse invaders, while coastal watchtowers signal pirate ships, a strategy seen in Minoan seals. You brew a ceremonial potion for a festival, its golden hue, evoking nectar, poured to appease gods amid prophecies of decline. These oracles hinted at in later Delphic traditions, warn of hubris over reliance on Crete's naval might. As Mycenaean influence grows, evidenced by their pottery flooding Knossos markets, a personal tale emerges. Your apprentice, a youth named Ariadne after the myth, crafts a rhyton but fears conscription into Crete's fleet, his family's pride clashing with communal needs. As you seal a vat under flickering lamplight, the Minotaurs, raw echoes in whispered fears of invasion. How did your brews, bridging ritual and survival, steer Knossos through the maze of prophecy and power toward its looming fate? The Minotaur's echo in Crete's declinio linger in the shadowed brewery of Knossos, around 1450 BCE, as the Minoan sun dips low, casting long shadows across the palace's intricate corridors. The air hangs heavy with the residue of your final brew, a golden mead infused with saffron, destined for a ritual feast amid whispers of impending doom. Knossos, its grandeur unearthed by Arthur Evans, stands as the pinnacle of Minoan achievement, yet cracks in its frescoed walls hint at vulnerabilities exposed by earthquakes and Mycenaean encroachments. The Minotaur myth culminates in Theseus's triumph, slaying the beast in the labyrinth of stories symbolizing the overthrow of Cretan dominance. As Mycenaeans absorbed Minoan culture around 1400 BCE, evidenced by Linear B tablets overwriting. Linear A, your craft reaches its somber peak in these turbulent times. You pour nectar-like potions into bull-shaped rhytons found in palace ruins. For ceremonies invoking Deek's justice to balance the scales against chaos, these brews, shared in communal libations, soothe tensions from overtaxed tributaries. As Minoan overlords, hubris-laden like Minos, demand tribute, sparking revolts inferred from destruction layers at Molia. The Minotaur's maze warfare reflects real defenses. Knossos' winding passages confuse invaders, while coastal fleets, depicted in Thera murals, patrol against pirates. You might craft a special jug etched with a labyrinth pattern, a talisman. For sailors fearing Mycenaean raids, their tactics akin to Theseus's cunning thread. Hubris unravels the family dynamics of power. Myths portray Minos' Kimpasiphi and Ariadne entangled in prophecy, mirroring real Minoan lineages vying for control, as multiple throne rooms suggest rival factions. Palace councils enforcing equitable shares of grain and wine temper such greed, but prophecies of decline, echoed in later Sibylline oracles, foretell Crete's fall. Your brews facilitate these gatherings, poured to seal oaths, yet a brewer named Daedalus in local lore, proud of his innovations, flees after a dispute, his story blending with myth. Survival adapts, your family stocks amphorae with dried herbs and honey, trading for Mycenaean bronze to forge tools, as Crete's economy shifts amid volcanic ash from Thera-blanketing fields. The era's resolution unfolds in fiery layers at Knossos around 1375 BCE, attributed to invasion or internal strife, with Mycenaeans imposing their rule. Your potion's legacy persists in Greek symposia, where wine fosters dialogue, laying groundwork for classical philosophy. Reflecting on this, the Minotaur's tale warns of hubris in leadership today, overreaching empires or families ignoring justice's scales, risking collapse as prophecies unfold. In modern governance, how do we navigate our own labyrinths of power, ensuring prophecy serves as guide rather than doom? Greek mythology's ominous craft, Cyclops' ambush strategies, moral order's shadow, and Sphinx's ominous portents forging beneath Thebes' looming shadow sigh rise before dawn in Thebes. Around 1300 BCE, a bronzesmith in a bustling city-state nestled in Boeotia's fertile plains. Thebes, its seven-gated walls later celebrated in Sophocles' tragedies, stands as a Mycenaean stronghold, its citadel uncovered by archaeologists revealing workshops like yours. Your forge, a smoky enclave near the Cadmea Palace, glows with the heat of charcoal fires, as you hammer copper and tin into weapons and tools that sustain Thebes' martial and trade networks. The Cyclops, one-eyed giants of myth who forged Zeus's thunderbolts in Hesiod's Theogony circa 700 BCE, inspire your craft, their brute strength echoing in the heavy bronze shields you shape, while whispers of the Sphinx a riddling beast haunt the hills, her portents tied to real fears of ambush and betrayal. Your day begins with stoking the fire, using bellows to melt ingots from Cyprus, as documented in Linear B tablets listing metal rations. You craft spearheads with flanged edges, their designs found in Theban graves dated to 1400 BCE, often etched with boar hunt scenes to evoke strength. The Cyclops myth, possibly rooted in fossilized skulls mistaken for single-eyed giants, reflects the raw power of Thebes' warriors who patrol trade routes to Euboea. The Sphinx, a lion-bodied creature with a human face, symbolizes enigma and danger. Her riddles in later tales like Oedipus's saga 5th century BCE, mirroring real threats of bandit ambushes on mountain passes noted in Hittite records of regional unrest. Survival hinges on your skill and community ties. You live in a stone house near the forge, eating barley bread and lentils, bartering blades for olives or fish. Thebes aqueducts. Channeling spring water, sustain your household, a feat of engineering seen in Mycenaean sites like Turin's. Communal feasts held in palace courtyards with hearths uncovered by excavators bind artisans like you to warriors and scribes, reinforcing loyalty amid raid threats. Linear B records detail your bronze allocations, ensuring your family's sustenance during lean harvests. The moral order, shadowed by Zeus's justice, shapes Theban life. Palace councils settle disputes over land or tribute, their rulings etched on clay, prefiguring later Greek law codes. You might forge a bronze plaque for such decrees, its surface gleaming with authority. Hubris, the overreach warned against, in myths appears in reckless warlords who defy council edicts, risking internal strife. The Sphinx's ominous portents, tied to tales of divine punishment, echo these tensions, as her riddles test human wisdom against fate. Your shields, hammered with Cyclopean motifs, serve warriors employing ambush tactics, swift strikes in narrow valleys, a strategy inferred from tablet mentions of chariot deployments. As you quench a glowing blade in water, steam rising like a seer's vision, the Sphinx's shadow looms in tales of travelers lost to bandits. How did your crafted tools, blending might and myth, navigate Thebes' moral order amid threats of ambush and divine portent? Hammering order amid ambush threats, you labor in the sweltering forge of Thebes, around 1300 BCE. Sparks flying as you shape a bronze greave under the flickering glow of oil lamps. The Cadmea Palace looms nearby, its massive limestone blocks, unearthed by modern archaeologists, a testament to Mycenaean might. Your craft, forging weapons for Theban warriors, intertwines with tales of the Cyclops' mythical smiths whose brute force mirrors your hammer's rhythm on the Sphinx, whose riddles in later Oedipus tales 5th century BCE echo real fears of deception. In Boeotia's rugged hills, Thebes thrives on trade with Corinth and Attica, but ambushes by rival clans, noted in Linear B tablets listing guard posts, threaten its fragile order. Your work demands precision. You alloy copper with tin, heated in clay crucibles to craft swords with inlaid niello patterns, a technique seen in Mycenaean daggers dated to 1400 BCE. These blades, etched with Cyclopean eyes as protective charms, arm warriors for ambushes in mountain passes, where terrain favors swift strikes, as described in Hittite records of skirmishes. The Sphinx's myth, possibly inspired by lion-headed statues found in Minoan Crete, symbolizes cunning threats, bandits, or traitors who unravel trust. You might forge a ceremonial dagger for a council, its hilt carved with a lion's face, invoking Zeus's justice to counter such dangers. Survival weaves through communal resilience. Your family, housed near the forge, stores grain in clay-lined pits, a practice evidenced at Mycenaean Gla to endure lean seasons. You barter blades for wool or dried fish, while your wife spins flax for trade, supporting Thebes' economy as seen in tablet records of textile exports. Communal feasts, with roasted boar and your bronze cauldrons heating stews, strengthen ties, but hubris disrupts this harmony. A warrior named Laodamas, mentioned in local lore, boasts of invincibility, sparking feuds settled by elders invoking moral order, their decrees etched on your bronze plaques. These rituals, rooted in Zeus's authority, prefigure later Greek assemblies, balancing pride with justice. The Cyclops' ambush strategies inspire your designs. You craft lightweight javelins for hit-and-run tactics, their balance perfected through trial, as warriors mimic mythical giants, brute precision in narrow valleys. The Sphinx's portents, whispered by traders, warn of betrayal, perhaps a merchant leaking routes to raiders, as hinted in tablet tallies of lost goods. You forge a votive shield for a temple offering, its surface gleaming with a labyrinthine pattern, symbolizing protection against such enigmas. Personal tales emerge. Your apprentice, a youth named Cadmos after Thebes' founder, fears ambush duty, his family's pride in his skill clashing with the grim reality of warfare. As you hammer a glowing ingot, the forge's heat mirrors Thebes' tensions, where moral order teeters under hubris and unseen threats. How did your crafted arms, blending myth and might, uphold justice against the Sphinx's riddling portents and the chaos of ambush? Thebes Forge and the Scales of Fate. You stand in the cooling forge of Thebes around 1300 BCE. As twilight casts long shadows across the Cadmea's limestone walls, their weathered surfaces bearing the weight of Mycenaean ambition, your final task, a bronze sword etched with a cyclopean eye, rests beside the dying embers. Crafted for a warrior facing Boeotia's perilous hills, Thebes, its 7 gates a bulwark against chaos, teeters on the edge of decline as archaeological layers reveal destruction around 1200 BCE. The Cyclops, mythic smiths of divine weapons in Hesiod's Theogony, inspire your work, while the Sphinx's riddles, later immortalized in Sophocles' Oedipus Rex 5th century BCE, mirror real betrayals and ambushes that unravel Theban order. Your craft culminates in tools of survival and ritual. You forge a ceremonial tripod, its legs incised with spiral motifs for offerings to Zeus, whose justice echoed in Linear B records of council decrees curbs hubris among Thebes' elite. These tripods, found in Mycenaean shrines, bind warriors and artisans in feasts, countering threats like those from bandit clans, whose tactics resemble the Cyclops' brute ambushes in mountain passes. As noted in Hittite texts of regional strife, the Sphinx's ominous portents, symbolized by her lion-human form, reflect fears of internal treachery, perhaps ascribe leaking trade routes, as hinted in tablet tallies of stolen goods. Your sword, a talisman against such riddles, arms a patrol guarding caravans to Orchomenos. Hubris phrased the moral order, myths of Oedipus's pride, defying the Sphinx's riddle. Parallel real warlords who overextend Thebes' reach, sparking raids that weaken its granaries, evidenced by depleted storage pits at Gla. Your family, storing barley and olives in sealed jars, adapts by forging sickles alongside swords, a shift seen in late Mycenaean sites as agriculture bolstered survival. Communal councils invoking Zeus's law mediate disputes, like one involving a merchant named Eteocles, whose hoarding of bronze sparks unrest, resolved through your ritual tripod's use in oaths. A personal story lingers, your cousin, a guard, falls in an ambush, his sacrifice mourned with your cauldron stew, strengthening communal resolve. Thebes' doom, marked by fire layers around 1190 BCE, stems from hubris over reliance on walls, and wealth compounded by droughts, as Treering data suggests. Your craft endures, its techniques shaping Iron Age metalwork, laying roots for classical Greece's artistry. Reflecting on this, the Sphinx's riddle warns of pride's cost in modern times nations, or leaders ignoring justice's scales, risk unraveling fragile systems from trade to governance. Your bronze, humble yet enduring, asks, what unseen riddles of hubris lurk in our designs, tempting fate in the shadows of order? The somber verdict of Themis, Greek mythology's Cyclops ambush, and crafting golden chariots in prophecy, ominous portents forging might in Argos' shadow you. Awaken in the pre-dawn haze of Argos, around 1250 BCE, a chariot maker in a dusty workshop, near the city's Cyclopean walls. Their massive limestone blocks a testament to Mycenaean engineering, later excavated by Heinrich Schliemann. Argos thrives as a hub of trade and warfare, its plains fertile with barley and olives, linking it to Mycenae and Corinth. Your craft, shaping wooden chariots clad in bronze, fuels the city's martial pride, evoking myths of the Cyclops one-eyed. Smiths forging divine weapons in Hesiod's Theogony circa 700 BCE, whispers of Themis, titaness of divine law, and her ominous prophecies permeate the air, warning of hubris as you carve axles for golden chariots, symbols of glory in epic tales. Your day begins with hewing willow planks, sourced from nearby rivers, their grain tested for resilience. You hammer bronze fittings, imported from Cyprus as recorded in Linear B tablets, into wheel rims, creating lightweight chariots like those found in warrior graves dated to 1300 BCE. These vehicles, celebrated in the Iliad as gifts of gods, are practical tools for Argos' warriors who employ Cyclops-like ambush tactics in hilly terrains, striking rivals swiftly as Hittite texts describe regional skirmishes. Themis' verdict looms in myths, her scales balancing justice against pride. mirrored in Argos's councils where elders settle land disputes. Their decrees etched on clay to curb clan feuds. Survival binds you to the community, your family. Housed in a stone dwelling near the workshop, eats lentils and bread, bartering chariot parts for fish or wool. Argos's gravity-fed springs, engineered like those at Mycenae, supply water, while communal feasts with roasted goat, held in palace courtyards, reinforce loyalty. Linear records list rations for artisans like you, ensuring barley during droughts. Yet, hubris threatens a warlord perhaps named Diomedes in local lore. Boasts of unbeatable chariots, risking overextension. As myths warn of Themis punishing such pride with ruinous portents, like oracles foretelling Troy's fall. Your chariots, adorned with bronze inlays depicting boars, serve both war and ritual. They carry warriors to ambushes, their speed vital in Boeotian raids, while ceremonial versions offer to Athena seek divine favor. The Cyclops myth, possibly inspired by fossilized skulls mistaken for giant remains, infuses your work with symbolic might as you engrave a wheel with a single eye, a talisman against bandits. A personal tale emerges. Your son, apprenticed to you, fears conscription into chariot crews. His skill pride tested by Themis's call for humility. As you polish a bronze hub under torchlight, the air grows heavy with prophecy tales of oracles, warning Argos of overreach. How did your chariots, blending craft and myth, navigate Themis's somber verdict amid the chaos of ambush and pride? Ambush in the hills. Scales of justice save stand in your Argos workshop, circa 1250 BCE, the air thick with sawdust and the clang of hammer on bronze. The Cyclopean walls loom outside, their massive limestone blocks, later studied by archaeologists like Schliemann, a silent testament to Mycenaean might. Your chariots, crafted from willow and clad in Cypriot bronze, are more than tools there. Symbols of Argos's martial pride, evoking the Cyclops of Hesiod's theogony, forging divine weapons under divine gaze. Yet, Themis, tightness of divine law, haunts the city's whispers. Her prophecies, etched in oracles, warn of hubris, and you feel their weight as you polish a chariot hub, its bore inlay gleaming under torchlight. The day's work is interrupted by rumors of an ambush. Argos's warriors, trained in Cyclops-like tactics, use your chariots in swift strikes across the hilly terrains. As Hittite texts note in regional conflicts, a warlord, perhaps Diomedes of local lore, has led a raid into Boeotian lands, his chariots your creations racing through olive groves to surprise rivals. Linear tablets, unearthed centuries later, record such skirmishes, detailing chariot deployments and grain rations for warriors. Themis's scales, balancing pride against justice, seem to tip as the warlord's boasts of invincibility echo in the agora. Elders, convening in stone-roofed councils, inscribe decrees on clay to settle land disputes, striving to curb clan feuds that fuel these raids. Your son, apprenticed at your side, hammers a bronze fitting, his brow furrowed. He fears conscription into chariot crews, his skill with axles a double-edged sword. The community binds you both. Your family's stone dwelling relies on bartered chariot parts for lentils and wool. Argos's gravity-fed springs, engineered like Mycenae's, ensure water, while communal feasts with roasted goat in palace courtyards reinforce loyalty. Yet, the warlord's hubris risks ruin. A prophecy, murmured by an oracle near Athena's shrine, warns of a failed ambush, a divine rebuke for overreach. You engrave a single eye on a wheel, a Cyclops talisman, hoping to shield your son from bandit blades or Themis's verdict. The chariot's dual role war and ritual defines your craft. Ceremonial versions, offered to Athena, seek divine favor. Their bronze inlays depicting mythic boars in war, they enable swift ambushes. Their lightweight frames, as found in warrior graves dated to 1300 BCE, outpacing heavier rivals. But the oracle's words linger. A storm looms, perhaps literal, as rain-soaked hills could mire chariots, or figurative, as Themis's justice punishes pride. Your son's fear grows, and you wonder if your creations, celebrated in epic tales, like the Iliad, are tools of glory or doom. As dusk falls, the workshop silent. What will the ambush reveal about Argos's fate under Themis's watchful gaze? The reckoning of Pridith Argo's workshop, circa 1250 BCE, hums with the faint echo of your hammer. Now stilled as dawn breaks, the Cyclopean walls, their limestone bulk later marvelled at by archaeologists, cast long shadows over your workbench, where a half-finished chariot gleams with Cypriot bronze. Themis, Titaness of divine law, looms larger now. Her prophecies, whispered by oracles, have come to pass. The ambush in the Boeotian hills, led by the warlord Diomedes, has failed. Your chariots, crafted with willow and bronze inlays of boars, lie mired in rain-soaked mud, as Hittite texts of the era describe terrain turning treacherous. The warlord's hubris, boasting of invincible golden chariots, has drawn Themis's somber verdict. Her scales tipping against Argos's pride, survivors straggle back, their tails grim. The chariots, built for speed as found in Mycenaean graves dated to 1300 BCE, faltered when rain swelled streams, trapping wheels. Rivals, using Cyclops-like tactics of stealth, struck from rocky outcrops, felling warriors. Linear B tablets, later deciphered, record losses, men, horses, and your creations. Your son, spared conscription, grips a chisel, his relief tempered by shame as the community mourns. In the Agora, elders convene, their clay decrees now focused on reparations, not disputes, striving to restore balance as Themis demands. Communal feasts, once vibrant with roasted goat, are somber. Rations of barley and fish stretched thin, as noted in palace records. Your craft, once a source of pride, feels heavy. The chariots, both martial and ceremonial, were Argos's strength offered. To Athena for favor, their single-eye engravings evoking Cyclops myths, possibly inspired by fossilized skulls mistaken for giants' remains. Yet, their failure exposes the fragility of glory. You teach your son to carve humbler designs, stripping boastful inlays, a nod to Themis's call for restraint. The city, too, shifts. Warriors train on foot and councils prioritize trade with Corinth over raids. The oracle's warning, fulfilled, lingers. Argos must heed humility or face further ruin. As myths of Troy's fall echo in later epics like the Iliad, Themis's justice, though harsh, fosters resilience. Your family barters chariot parts for wool, ensuring survival, while Argos's gravity-fed springs, engineered with Mycenaean precision, sustain the city. The lesson endures, pride invites downfall, but craft and community endure. Centuries later, archaeologists uncover your chariot's remnants, their bronze hubs whispering of a people who balanced ambition with survival. Today, Themis's scales remind us that hubris, whether in ancient wars or modern overreach, courts ruin, while humility forges lasting strength. How might Argos's fall shape our own choices in the face of ambition's allure? The timeless verdict of Themis, Greek mythology's Amazon warrior's assault, and forging divine weapons in Nemesis' gloomy legend shadows of the forge in Thessaliu. Awaken in a Thessalian village, circa 1200 BCE, the air sharp with the scent of molten bronze and pine from the slopes of Mount Ossa. You are a smith, laboring in a stone-walled forge near the Peneus River, crafting weapons for a world steeped in the myths of the Amazons. Fierce warrior women whose tales, later recorded by Herodotus, echo through the hills. Thessaly, a fertile plain dotted with barley fields and horse pastures, thrives as a crossroads between Mycenae and the northern tribes, its settlements bustling with trade, as evidenced by Linear B tablets listing bronze ingots from Cyprus. Your forge, its bellows fueled by charcoal, produces spearheads and daggers, their designs inspired by legends of divine weapons crafted by Hephaestus, as told in Hesiod's Theogony circa 700 BCE. Themis, Titaness of divine law, and her daughter Nemesis, goddess of retribution, cast long shadows over your work, their myths warning of justice for those who defy balance. Your day begins with smelting bronze, blending copper and tin in a clay crucible, the heat blistering as you pour molten metal into molds. These weapons, etched with horse motifs, arm the Thessalian warriors who emulate Amazon tactics swift, mounted assaults as described in later Greek vases depicting their battles. The community depends on your craft, Your family, housed in a mudbrick dwelling, barters blades for wool and lentils, while village springs, fed by mountain streams, supply water, mirroring Mycenaean engineering. Communal feasts with roasted boar and barley bread bind loyalties. As Pallas records note rations for artisans like you during lean harvests. Yet, whispers of an Amazon incursion stir unease. Scouts report sightings of warrior women from the north, their bows and speed unmatched, possibly linked to Scythian tribes later studied by archaeologists. Themis's verdict looms in village councils, where elders inscribe clay tablets to settle disputes over grazing lands, striving to maintain order. Nemesis's gloomy legends, tied to punishing hubris, haunt the air tales of warriors felled for boasting of invincibility. Your latest commission, a bronze spearhead for a chieftain named Echepolus, bears a starburst design, a talisman against divine wrath. Your daughter, apprenticed to you, polishes the blade, her hand steady but her eyes wary of conscription into village defense. As you hammer a dagger under flickering torchlight, the village prepares for a potential assault. The Amazons, real or mythic, embody a threat to Thessaly's pride, their rumored skill challenging the region's warriors. Your weapons, both practical and symbolic, must hold the line. But what will happen when Nemesis's retribution tests the balance of courage and hubris in the clash to come? Clash on the Benaeus plain you stand in your Thessalian forge, circa 1200 BCE. The air heavy with the acrid tang of cooling bronze. The stone walls of your workshop, nestled near the Benaeus River, hum with urgency as you sharpen a spearhead under the shadow of Mount Ossa. Thessaly's plains, rich with barley and grazing horses, pulse with tension rumors of an Amazon assault. Their swift-mounted tactics evoking tales later etched on Greek vases have proven true. Your weapons, crafted with Cypriot bronze as recorded in Linear B tablets, arm the village's warriors, their designs echoing Hephaestus's divine forge in Hesiod's Theogony. Themis, titaness of divine law, and Nemesis, her daughter of retribution, loom over the village, their myths warning of justice for unchecked pride. The Amazons struck at dawn, their hooves thundering across the plain, arrows felling Thessalian scouts before they could raise alarms. Warriors, wielding your daggers and spears, scrambled to mount horses, their tactics mirroring the hit-and-run style attributed to northern tribes. In later archaeological finds, the chieftain Echepolus, his starburst-etched spear in hand, leads a counterattack, his boasts of victory ringing in the village square. Yet, Nemesis's legends, whispered in council halls, caution against such hubris elders. Inscribing clay tablets to ration bronze, urge restraint to avoid divine wrath. Your daughter, polishing a blade beside you, fears for her betrothed, a young warrior in the fray. His fate tied to your craft. The community rallies, its survival woven into daily rhythms. Your family barters spearheads for wool and fish, sustaining your mud-brick home, while mountain-fed springs, engineered like Mycenaean cisterns, provide water. Communal feasts, once lively with roasted boar, now serve as strategy meetings, with barley rations stretched thin, as Pallas records note during conflicts. Your forge becomes a hub, producing arrowheads to counter the Amazon's bows. Their design inspired by Scythian artifacts later unearthed. The village fortifies, piling stones at choke points along the river, a tactic akin to Mycenaean defenses against raids. As you etch a horse motif onto a dagger, a scout reports the Amazons, possibly real warriors from northern tribes, exploit Thessaly's open terrain, outpacing Echepolus's men. Themis's scales, balancing courage and arrogance, seem to tip. Your daughter's hands tremble, her skill vital yet her heart heavy with dread. The clash on the plain tests your weapon's might, but Nemesis's gloomy verdict lingers will. Hubris doom the village, or can restraint turn the tide as night falls, the forge glowing? What will the battle reveal about Thessaly's fate under divine judgment? Retribution's daunt Thessalian forge, circa 1200 BCE, glows faintly as dawn breaks over the Benaeus River, its embers mirroring the fading fires of battle. Your hands, calloused from hammering bronze, pause over a half-finished dagger, its horse motif incomplete. The village, nestled under Mount Oss's shadow, reels from the Amazon assault. Your weapons, crafted with Cypriot bronze as noted in Linear B tablets, lie scattered across the plain, some bloodied, others broken. Themis, Titaness of divine law, and Nemesis, goddess of retribution, have spoken through the clash. The chieftain, Echapolis, whose hubris-fueled boasts of victory, lies wounded, his starburst-etched spear useless against the Amazons' swift arrows, their tactics akin to Scythian riders later studied by archaeologists. The battle's toll is heavy. The Amazons, whether mythic warriors or northern tribeswomen, retreated after a day of carnage, their speed outmatching Thesles' horses on the rain-slick plain. Warriors, armed with your spears, held the riverbank, but losses mount linear. B records, later unearthed, tally fallen men and depleted bronze stores. Your daughter, safe in the forge, weeps with relief. Her betrothed survived, though scarred. Village elders, convening in a stone-roofed hall, inscribed clay tablets to broker peace, offering barley and wool to appease the raiders and nod to Themis's call for balance. Communal feasts, once vibrant with roasted boar, now distribute meager lentils as rations dwindle per palace. Logs dot your craft, once a source of pride, now bears Nemesis's weight. The weapons, inspired by Hephaestus's divine forge in Hesiod's Theogony, failed to turn the tide, exposing the limits of mortal ambition. You simplify designs, etching only functional patterns, teaching your daughter humility in craft. The village shifts to warriors train in defensive formations, abandoning boastful raids. Springs, engineered like Mycenaean systems, sustain the community, while bartered blades secure fish for your family's mudbrick home. Nemesis's verdict, fulfilled, lingers, pride invited ruin, but resilience endures. The Amazons retreat, perhaps a strategic withdrawal as later Greek tales suggest, leaves Thessaly humbled but intact. Centuries later, archaeologists uncover your forge's remnants, bronze fragments whispering of survival. Themis and Nemesis, their myths enduring in texts like the Iliad, remind us that hubris courts retribution while balance fosters endurance. Today, their lesson echoes in our own struggles. Overconfidence in technology or power risks downfall, but adaptability prevails. As you bank the forge's coals, the village rebuilding, what enduring truths might Thessaly's trial offer for navigating our own battles against pride? The gloomy building labyrinth traps in Greek mythology, siege of Troy under moral order's shadow, and Chimera's survival in mythic realms. Crafting the walls of Troy, you awaken in Troy. Circa 1250 BCE, a mason toiling on the city's formidable defenses, their sloping limestone walls later excavated by Heinrich Schliemann. The city, perched on the Hessarlic hill overlooking the Scamander plain, thrives as a trade hub linking Anatolia to the Aegean, its wealth evident in gold artifacts, unearthed in later centuries. Your task is to carve and set massive stone blocks, some weighing tons, into Troy's fortifications, designed to thwart invaders like the Achaeans, whose siege looms in myths later immortalized in Homer's Iliad. The labyrinthine design of the walls with angled passages and hidden gates evokes the mythic labyrinth of Crete, tied to the Minotaur, while the chimerapart lion, goat, and serpent haunts tales as a symbol of untamed threats. Themis, Titaness of divine law, casts a moral shadow, her justice warning against Troy's pride in its impregnable defenses. Your day begins with chiseling limestone, quarried from nearby hills, your tools of bronze and flint guided by skills passed down through generations. The walls, as archaeological records confirm, feature sloped bases to repel battering rams, their complexity a trap for invaders. You work alongside laborers, their sweat mingling with yours as linear tablets. From nearby pillars list rations of barley and figs for such crews. Troy's survival hinges on community, your family. Housed in a mudbrick dwelling within the lower city, barters stonework for fish and wool. Communal feasts in the citadel, with roasted lamb and wine, reinforce loyalty, while cisterns, engineered to capture rainwater, sustain the city, mirroring Mycenaean systems. Yet, whispers of war grow louder. Scouts report Achaean ships massing across the Aegean, their intent unclear but ominous. As Hittite texts mention regional tensions, Themis's moral order, upheld in Troy's councils where elders inscribe clay tablets to settle trade disputes, feels strained. The Chimera myth, possibly inspired by fossilized bones mistaken for monsters. Fuels fear your latest block, etched with a lion's head, serves as a talisman against invaders. Your son, apprenticed to you, hews stone with precision, but dreads conscription to defend the walls he builds. Troy's pride in its labyrinthine defenses, celebrated in epic tales, risks hubris. As Themis's warnings of divine retribution echo in oracles near Apollo's shrine. As you set a stone under torchlight, the air heavy with dust, the city braces. For siege, your walls, both practical and symbolic, must hold against Achaean cunning. But what will unfold when Troy's labyrinth traps face the relentless tide of war? Under Themis's watchful gaze, the siege titans you labor in Troy's shadow, circa 1250 BCE. Your mason's tools scraping limestone as the city's labyrinthine walls rise higher. The Hyssalic hill, later excavated by Schliemann, bristles with defenses sloped, massive. Blocks designed to foil invaders, their angled passages evoking Crete's mythic labyrinth. Troy, a trade nexus between Anatolia and the Aegean, hums with tension as Achaean ships, sighted off the Scamander plain, signal the siege foretold in Homer's Iliad. Themis, tightness of divine law looms over the city, her moral order tested by Troy's pride in its fortifications. The Chimera, a monstrous blend of lion, goat, and serpent, haunts tales, its image carved on your latest stone as a ward against the chaos of war. The Achaeans have landed, their campfires dotting the coast, their battering rams testing your wall-sloped bases. As archaeological evidence of Troy's destruction layers suggests, your work intensifies, you carve narrower passages, creating traps to slow invaders. A tactic mirrored in Hittite records of fortified cities. Your son, apprenticed at your side, sets stones with skill, but whispers of escape, fearing conscription. To man the ramparts, Troy's survival hinges on community or family in a mudbrick home. Barter stonework for barley and fish, while cisterns, engineered like Mycenaean cisterns, hold rainwater. Communal feasts, once lavish with roasted lamb, now ration figs and bread. As linear tablets from the region note dwindling supplies under siege dot in the citadel. Elders inscribe clay tablets, striving to maintain Themis's justice by mediating disputes over hoarded grain. Yet hubris festers, Trojan leaders, perhaps echoing Priam's law, boast of impregnable walls, defying oracles' warning of divine retribution. The Chimera myth, possibly rooted in fossilized bones mistaken for monsters, fuels fear of an untamed fate. You etch a serpent's coil on a gatepost, hoping to appease Nemesis. Themis's avenger, the Achaeans, cunning as later tales of Odysseus suggest, probe for weaknesses. Their scouts slipping through outer defenses, your walls, both practical and symbolic, are Troy's shield, but cracks in morale appear as hunger gnaws dot as you align. A block under starlight, the city's fate hangs in balance. The labyrinthine walls, designed to confuse and trap, face relentless Achaean assaults. Your son's fear grows, and you wonder if your craft will save Troy or merely delay its doom. What will the siege reveal about Themis's verdict when pride clashes with survival? The fall and the lessened Trojan dawn, circa 1250 BCE, breaks over Hyssalic's battered walls, their limestone scarred from Achaean assaults. You, a mason, stand amidst the rubble of your labyrinthine defenses, the air thick with dust and defeat. Troy, once a trade hub linking Anatolia and the Aegean, lies breached. Its wealth gold artifacts later unearthed by Schliemann looted. Themis, tightness of divine law, has delivered her verdict, her moral order punishing Troy's hubris in its impregnable walls. As foretold in oracles and echoed in Homer's Iliad, the Chimera, that mythic beast of lion, goat, and serpent, lingers in your carvings. Its image on a fallen gatepost, now a hollow talisman against the ruin that myths warned of. The Achaeans' cunning, perhaps led by an Odysseus-like figure, broke your defenses not by force but deception, as later tales of a wooden horse suggest. Your labyrinthine passages, designed to trap invaders, were betrayed by open gates. Archaeological layers of Troy the eye showing fire and collapse. Your son, spared conscription, mourns beside you, his hands raw from salvaging stones to rebuild homes. The community, once sustained by bartered fish and wool, phrase systems. Engineered like Mycenaean systems, run low and communal feasts. Of roasted lamb are replaced by scavenged barley, as linear tablets record famine's grip. Elders, their clay tablets now ash, can no longer enforce Themis' justice. Their counsels silenced by defeat. Your craft, once Troy's pride, lies in ruin. The walls, built with skills honed over generations, could not withstand hubris Trojan. Leaders' boasts invited Nemesis' retribution as myths of divine punishment foretold. You teach your son to carve simpler stones for humble dwellings, not grand defenses. A nod to Themis' call for balance, the city's survivors adapt, trading with nearby villages to survive, as Hittite texts note post-siege recovery in the region. The Chimera, perhaps inspired by fossilized bones, becomes a cautionary tale. Untamed pride breeds monsters, real or mythic. Troy's fall, later immortalized in epics, reshapes the Aegean, humbling its trade networks. Centuries later, archaeologists uncover your broken walls, their labyrinthine design whispering of resilience amid folly. Themis' verdict endures pride invites ruin, but survival demands humility. Today, Troy's lesson resonates. Overconfidence in walls, whether stone or ideological, risks collapse, while adaptability endures. As you clear debris under a fading sky, what might Troy's fall teach us about balancing ambition with the humility needed to survive? Hidden reverent layers of Greek mythology, building labyrinth traps behind divine battle plans. Justice's gloomy scales is doom, ominous portents carving the depths of Knossos awaken in Knossos. Crete, circa 1450 BCE, a stonecutter shaping the sprawling palace complex, its intricate corridors later dubbed the labyrinth by myth. The Minoan city, thriving on trade with Egypt and the Cyclades, hums with artisans and merchants. Its frescoes of bull lepers and marine life vivid on plastered walls. As excavated by Arthur Evans, your task is to carve limestone blocks for the palace's lower levels, their twisting passages designed to confuse and control access, evoking tales of the Minotaur, a beast born of divine wrath in later Greek stories. Themis, tightness of divine law, looms over Knossos, her scales of justice whispered in oracles, warning of hubris as the palace's grandeur grows. Its wealth catalogued in linear tablets yet to be deciphered. Your day begins with chiseling. Limestone, quarried from nearby hills, your bronze tools scraping to form tight, winding corridors. These passages, as archaeological finds confirm, served storage and ritual, but their maze-like design doubles as a trap for intruders, a practical defense in a trade-rich city. You work alongside potters and weavers, your sweat mingling as tablets record barley and olive oil rations for laborers. Knossos' survival relies on community, your family in a claybrick home near the palace. Barters stonework for fish and wool. Communal feasts with roasted goat and wine in painted cups bind loyalties, while clay-lined cisterns engineered to store rainwater sustain the city. Rivaling Mycenaean systems, yet whispers of divine discontent stir. Priests interpreting. Tremors in the earth later tied to Thera's eruption. Around 1500 BCE warn of Themis' judgment on Knossos' opulence, the Minotaur myth, perhaps rooted in bull worship rituals seen in Minoan seals, fuels fear of retribution for pride. Your latest block, etched with a double-axe labries, honors the palace's sacred role. But your daughter, apprenticed to you, fears the labyrinth's purpose. Rumors swirl of tributes sent to its depths. As later tales of Theseus suggest, Themis' scales, upheld in council rooms where elders settle trade disputes on clay, feel unsteady as Knossos expands, its wealth tempting raiders or divine wrath. As you carve under flickering oil lamps, the palace's labyrinthine depths grow darker, both literal and symbolic. Your work, blending utility and myth, fortifies Knossos, but the omens tremors. Oracles hint at doom. What will unfold when the labyrinth's traps face the weight of divine justice or mortal ambition? Tremors in the Mosaic toil in the dim depths of Knossos' palace, circa 1450 BCE. Your chisel biting into limestone as the labyrinthine corridors take shape. The Minoan city, a trade hub linking Egypt and the Cyclades, pulses with life-its frescoes of leaping bulls and dolphins vivid, as later uncovered by Arthur Evans. Your work, carving twisting passages for storage and ritual, doubles as a defensive trap, their complexity designed to thwart raiders as archaeological layouts of Knossos reveal. Themis, tightness of divine law, casts a heavy shadow, her scales of justice invoked in Oracle's warning of retribution for Knossos' growing hubris, its wealth gold and pottery catalogued in undeciphered linear tablets. The earth trembles. Faintly, a rumble felt through your tools, one of many quakes later tied to Thera's volcanic unrest around 1500 BCE. Priests in the palace's shrine rooms, adorned with Labyrinth symbols, interpret these as Themis' displeasure, urging restraint. You carve a double-axe motif on a corridor wall, a nod to sacred rituals, but your daughter, apprenticed beside you, whispers of fear rumors of tributes sent to the labyrinth's depths. Later woven into Minotaur myths haunt her. The community sustains you, your family, in a clay brick home, barters stonework for olives and wool, while clay-lined cisterns, engineered like Mycenaean systems, hold rainwater. Communal feasts, once rich with roasted goat, now ration wine and barley. As tablets note strained supplies amid tremors, Knossos' council, inscribing clay to settle trade disputes, strives to uphold Themis' order, but pride festers. The palace's grandeur sprawling courts, vibrant frescoes tempts fate, as oracles warn of divine or mortal threats. Raiders, perhaps Achaean precursors, probe Crete's coast, their ships sighted in Minoan seals. Your labyrinth, with its disorienting turns, is meant reports of Achaean ships massing off the coast. Their sails spotted by lookouts stoke fears of invasion as later tales of Theseus hint at external threats. Your daughter's hands tremble as she smooths a stone, her skill vital but her heart heavy with dread of the labyrinth's secrets or the quake's portent. Themis' scales tip, and the palace's opulence feels like a challenge to divine. Balanced daughters, you work under flickering oil lamps. The labyrinth grows darker, its purpose blurred between defense and myth. The tremors intensify, and you wonder if your traps will shield Knossos or inhume its pride. What will the quakes or invaders reveal about Themis' justice when the labyrinth faces its trial? The labyrinth's reckoning Knossos' palace, circa 1450 BCE, lies in disarray, its labyrinthine corridors choked with dust and debris. You, a stonecutter, stand amidst the rubble, your tools idle as the Minoan city reels from catastrophe. The earth's tremors, linked to Thera's volcanic eruption around 1500 BCE, have cracked your carefully carved limestone walls. They're twisting. Passages designed as traps for raiders now collapsed, as Arthur Evans' excavations later reveal. Themis, tightness of divine law, has weighed Knossos' hubris on her scales, her justice delivered through quakes that shattered the palace's grandeur. The Minotaur myth, perhaps born from bull worship rituals on Minoan seals, feels prophetic, its monstrous fate mirroring the city's downfall. The quakes toppled frescoed halls, burying gold and pottery catalogued in linear tablets. Your daughter, safe beside you, mourns the loss of friends trapped in the labyrinth's depths, where tributes were rumored to vanish as later tales of Theseus suggest. Knossos' community phrase, clay-lined cisterns engineered like Mycenaean. Systems leak and communal feasts of roasted goat give way to scavenged olives. As tablets record famine's grip, elders, their clay inscriptions useless, can no longer enforce Themis' order, their trade disputes irrelevant amid ruin. Raiders, possibly Achaean precursors, exploit the chaos, their ships looting Crete's coast. As Minoan seals hint at maritime threats, your craft, once Knossos' pride, lies humbled. The labyrinth, meant to protect, and all became a tomb for ambition, its double-axe carvings now relics of a fallen era. You teach your daughter to carve simple stones for rebuilding homes, not palaces. Honoring Themis' call for humility, survivors adapt, bartering fish and wool to nearby villages. As archaeological records show Minoan recovery efforts, Themis' verdict, echoed in myths of divine retribution, reshapes Crete's trade networks wane. Ceding power to Mycenae, the Minotaur perhaps inspired by ritual or fossilized bones, becomes a cautionary tale. Pride builds traps that ensnare the proud. Centuries later, Evans uncovers your broken corridors, their maze-like design whispering of resilience amid folly. Themis' scales endure, teaching that opulence invites ruin while adaptability survives. Today, Knossos' fall mirrors our own risks over-reliance on wealth or systems courts collapse. But humility fosters endurance. As you clear debris under a quiet sky, what lessons might the labyrinth's ruin offer for navigating our own ambitions? Greek mythology unveiled. Timeless Achilles' rage tactics, assembling heroic armor, balance of human fate, and fate's medieval life's echoes forging armor in fire you awaken in Thesly. Circa 1250 BCE, a bronzesmith in a smoky workshop near the Spechio's river, crafting armor for warriors whose deeds echo in myths of Achilles. Later immortalized in Homer's Iliad, Thea, a fertile plain of barley and vineyards, thrives as a Mycenaean stronghold, its trade in bronze. Ingots from Cyprus recorded in Linear tablets. Your task is to hammer breastplates and greaves, their gleaming surfaces etched with boar motifs. Evoking divine craftsmanship like Hephaestus' in epic tales, Themis, tightness of divine law, looms over the land, her scales balancing human fate, warning of the rage akin to Achilles that risks divine retribution. As oracles whisper of pride's cost, your day begins with smelting bronze, blending copper and tin in a clay crucible, the heat searing as you shape armor for Theas. Warriors, whose skirmishes with northern tribes mirror tactics later attributed to Achilles' myrmidons. Archaeological finds, like warrior graves dated to 1300 BCE, reveal such armor, lightweight yet sturdy for swift combat. Your family, housed in a mud-brick dwelling, barters greaves for wool and fish, while gravity-fed springs engineered like Mycenaeans supply water. Communal feasts with roasted lamb, held in chieftains' halls, reinforce loyalty. As tablets note rations for artisans like you during lean harvests, yet tension brews. A young warrior, perhaps a proto-Achilles named Peleus in local lore, trains. Nearby, his temper flaring in disputes over land. As elders inscribe clay to uphold Themis' justice, his rage, celebrated yet feared, mirrors myths of Achilles' wrath, which later tales tie to divine punishment. You etch a starburst honor, breastplate, a talisman against such fury, but your son, apprentice to you, fears conscription into Peleus' raids, his hammer unsteady. Themis' balance feels fragile as Thea's pride in its warriors grows, tempting fate. As oracles warn of a looming war, perhaps Troy's siege where rage could undo glory. As you polish armor under torchlight, the air thick with prophecy, Thea prepares for conflict, your breastplates, both practical and symbolic, arm warriors for battle, but their tempers threaten chaos. What will unfold when Achilles-like rage tests Themis' scales in the clash to come? Rage on the Spechio's plain you labor in your Thean workshop, circa 1250 BCE. The air sharp with the tang of molten bronze as you hammer a breastplate near the Spechio's river, Thea, a Mycenaean hub of barley fields and horse pastures, bristles with tension as warriors train, their tactics evoking the myrmidons of Achilles' myth, later sung in Homer's Iliad. Your armor, etched with boar motifs and forged with cypriot, bronze per Linear tablets, equips these fighters, its craftsmanship rivaling Hephaestus' divine forge. Themis, tightness of divine law, casts a heavy shadow, her scales of justice strained by the growing rage of a young warrior perhaps. Peleus, a proto-Achilles whose temper flares in council disputes as oracles warn of hubris' cost. The plain hums with conflict. Peleus leads a raid against northern tribes, his bronze-clad warriors wielding your greaves in swift, chariot-driven assaults. As warrior graves dated to 1300 BCE confirm, his rage, sparked by a slight overgrazing rites, drives reckless charges, defying elders who inscribe clay tablets to settle feuds and uphold Themis' order. Your son, apprentice beside you, polishes a shield, his hands trembling at the prospect of joining Peleus' ranks. Fierce survival binds you, your family barters armor for fish and wool, while gravity-fed springs like Mycenae's ensure water. Communal feasts once rich with roasted lamb, now ration barley. As tablets note strained supplies amid raids. Rumors swirl of a greater war, perhaps Troy's siege where Peleus' fury could lead. Fear to glory or ruin. Your breastplates, both martial and symbolic, bear starburst talismans to ward off divine wrath. But Themis' balance feels precarious. The community fortifies, piling stones at river fords to slow invaders, a tactic seen in Mycenaean defenses. Your son's fear deepens, his skill vital yet overshadowed by the chaos of rage-driven raids. Oracles near Apollo's shrine whisper of doom, tying Peleus' wrath to Themis' judgment. As myths later warn of Achilles' anger toppling heroes, your armor, gleaming under torchlight, arms Thea's pride, but its weight feels like a challenge to fate. As you etch a shield in the flickering workshop, the clash on the plain tests your craft. Peleus' rage, unchecked, risks divine retribution, and you wonder if your armor will shield Thea or merely adorn its fall. What will the raids reveal? When Themis' scales weigh rage against survival, the cost of wrath the unworkshop. Circa 1250 BCE lies quiet, its bronze tool still as dawn breaks over the Spacheir's river. You, a smith, stand among scattered greaves, their bore motifs dulled by dust. Thea, a Mycenaean stronghold of barley and horses, reels from the aftermath of Peleus' raid. Its reckless fury akin to Achilles' rage in Homer's Iliad, having invited Themis' judgment. Themis, titaness of divine law, has tipped. Her scales, her justice punishing the hubris of unchecked wrath as oracles foretold. Your armor, forged with Cypriot bronze per linear tablets, lies broken on the plain, where northern tribes ambushed Peleus' warriors as archaeological. Finds of 1300 BCE warrior graves suggest the raid's failure is stark. Peleus, his temper inflamed by a land dispute, led a charge that faltered in muddy fords. Your breastplate's no match for tribal spears, as Hittite texts note similar regional defeats. Your son, spared conscription, polishes a dented shield, his relief marred by shame as Thea mourns. Elders, their clay tablets now focused on reparations, struggle to restore Themis' order, their council hall silent. The community phrase, gravity-fed springs like Mycenae's, still flow. But communal feasts of roasted lamb give way to meager fish and barley. As tablets record famine's grip, your family, bartering armor scraps for wool, clings to survival. In your mud-brick home, your craft, once Thea's pride, bears the weight of failure. The armor, inspired by Hephaestus' divine forge, could not tame Peleus' rage. Which myths later tie to Achilles' doomed wrath? You teach your son simpler designs, stripping boastful motifs, and nod to Themis' call for humility. Thea adapts warriors train in stealth, not reckless charges, and trade with nearby cities resumes. As Linear B records show recovery efforts, Themis' verdict reshapes the plain. Pride fuels ruin, but restraint endures. The rage of a proto-Achilles, echoed in epic tales, warns of glory's cost. As Troy's looming war looms in whispers, centuries later, archaeologists uncover your broken greaves, their craftsmanship a testament to resilience amid folly. Themis' scales, enduring in myths, teach that rage invites retribution, while balance fosters survival. Today, Thea's lesson resonates, unchecked passion whether in leaders or systems risks collapse, but humility prevails. As you bank the forge's coals, what might Peleus' fall teach us about tempering ambition with wisdom? Greek mythology unveiled. Reverent Titan uprising strategy, designing Trojan gifts. Justice's gloomy scales. And Titan's medieval life's echoes weaving deceptions in Ilium you awaken in Ilium. Another name for Troy, circa 1250 BCE, a woodworker, crafting intricate objects in a workshop near the city's towering walls. Their limestone bolt later unearthed by Heinrich Schliemann. Troy, perched on the Hyssalic hill, thrives as a trade hub connecting Anatolia and the Aegean. Its markets rich with pottery and gold, as archaeological finds confirm. Your task is to carve wooden structures, perhaps ceremonial or deceptive, evoking myths of the Trojan horse, later immortalized in Homer's Odyssey. Themis, Titaness of divine law, looms over the city, her scales of justice invoked in oracles warning against hubris, as Troy's wealth and defenses tempt divine or mortal retribution. Your day begins with hewing cedar planks, sourced from nearby, Ida's slopes, your bronze tools shaping smooth surfaces for a grand project, a massive wooden offering, possibly a gift to appease gods or foes, as whispered in council halls. Linear tablets, found in nearby Pylos, list timber rations for artisans like you. Ensuring cedar during shortages, Troy's survival hinges on community, your family. In a mudbrick home within the lower city, barters carvings for fish and wool. Communal feasts with roasted goat, held in the citadel's courtyard, strengthen bonds, while cisterns, engineered like Mycenaean systems, store rainwater, sustaining the city. Yet tension grips Ilium. Scouts report Achaean ships massing off the coast, their intent unclear but ominous as Hittite texts note regional conflicts. Themis's moral order, upheld by elders inscribing clay tablets to settle trade disputes, feels fragile as Troy's leaders, perhaps echoing Priam's law, plan a reverent yet cunning strategy, a wooden gift to sway fate, the Titan uprising. A mythic echo of rebellion against gods inspires your work. Your latest carving etched with a horse motif as a talisman against invaders. Your daughter, apprenticed to you, sans planks but fears the project's purpose. Rumors of deception swirling as oracles warn of Themis's gloomy scales judging Troy's pride. As you carve under torchlight, the city braces for conflict. Your wooden creation, both practical and symbolic, may shift magical deception. A precursor to the Trojan horse? What will unfold when Troy's gift faces Themis's judgment in the looming war? The gift takes shape you labor in your Trojan workshop. Circa 1250 BCE. The scent of cedar filling the air as you carve planks near Ilium's towering walls. Their limestone strength later excavated by Schliemann. Troy, a bustling trade hub on the Hyssalic hill, hums with merchants trading gold and pottery as archaeological finds attest. Your project, a massive wooden structure, possibly a deceptive offering, nears completion, its design evoking myths of the Trojan horse. Later sung in Homer's Odyssey, Themis, Titaness of divine law, casts a somber shadow, her scales weighing Troy's pride. As oracles warn of retribution for cunning plans that defy her justice, the Achaean siege titans, their ships dotting the Scamander plain, their battering rams testing the walls as Hittite texts describe regional warfare. Your work intensifies. You shape cedar beams into a hollow form, its horse motif etched as a divine tribute concealing a strategic purpose, perhaps to deceive invaders as council whispers suggest. Linear tablets found in nearby regions record timber allocations for such projects, ensuring your supply. Your daughter, sanding planks beside you, fears the structure's intent, her hands steady but her heart troubled by rumors of entrapment. Troy's community sustains you. Your mudbrick home relies on bartered carvings for fish and wool, while cisterns engineered like Mycenaean systems hold rainwater. Communal feasts, once lavish with roasted goat, now ration barley as tablets. Note siege-induced scarcity elders, inscribing clay to settle trade disputes, strive to uphold Themis's order, but hubris grows. Trojan leaders, perhaps led by a Priam-like figure, tout the wooden gift as a divine offering to end the siege, defying oracles' warning of Themis's judgment. The Titan uprising myth, a tale of rebellion against gods, fuels their boldness mirrored. In your horse-carved beams, the Achaeans, cunning as later tales of Odysseus imply, probe for weaknesses, their scouts circling Troy's gates. Your creation, both reverent and deceptive, stands ready, but its purpose gift or trap stirs unease. Your daughter's fear deepens, dreading the war's toll or divine wrath. As you smooth the plank under flickering torchlight, the city's fate hangs in balance. The wooden structure, a symbol of Troy's cunning, tests Themis's scales, its promise of salvation shadowed by doom. What will the gift reveal when Achaean eyes fall upon it under Themis's watchful gaze? The gift's undoing Trojan workshop, circa 1250 BCE, lies silent, its cedar shavings scattered as dawn breaks over. Ilium's scarred walls, their limestone bulk later unearthed by Schliemann. You, a woodworker, stand amidst the wreckage of your craft. The massive wooden structure carved with horse motifs and designed as a deceptive offering. Now a symbol of ruin, its legacy tied to the Trojan horse of Homer's Odyssey, Themis. Titaness of divine law has weighed Troy's hubris, her scales delivering justice as the Achaeans breached the city, their cunning triumphing over your creation. Troy, once a trade hub on the Hyssalic hill, lies looted, its gold and pottery plundered. As archaeological layers of Troy 7 confirm, the wooden gift, meant to appease or deceive, was Troy's downfall. Achaeans, perhaps led by an Odysseus-like strategist, exploited its hollow form, hiding warriors within, as later myths recount. Your labyrinthine walls, built to repel, could not withstand betrayal. Their collapse mirrored in Hittite records of regional sieges, your daughter safe beside. You mourns friends lost in the sack, her sanding tools idle. The community phrase, cisterns engineered like Mycenaean systems, run dry, and communal feasts of roasted goat give way to scavenged barley. As linear tablets note famine's grip, elders, their clay inscriptions burned, can no longer enforce Themis's order, their authority shattered. Your craft, once Troy's hope, now bears Themis's verdict. The horse, inspired by Titan uprising myths of defiance, embodied hubris. Inviting divine retribution, you teach your daughter to carve simple tools for survival, not grand deceptions, honoring Themis's call for humility. Survivors adapt, bartering with nearby villages as archaeological records show post-siege recovery. Troy's fall, later immortalized in epics, reshapes Aegean trade, humbling its networks, Themis's scales. Enduring in myths, warn that cunning without restraint courts doom while resilience endures. Your creation, meant to save, became a trap, its horse motif a cautionary echo of pride's cost. Centuries later, archaeologists uncover your workshop's remnants, their cedar traces whispering of ambition's folly, Themis's justice echoed. In modern tales, reminds us that deception, whether in war or policy, risks collapse. But humility fosters survival, as you salvage wood under a quiet sky. What might Troy's ruin teach us about balancing strategy with wisdom? Hidden reverent layers of Greek mythology, building labyrinth traps behind divine battle plans. Justice's gloomy scales is doom ominous portents forging the foundations of the Mosaic. Awaken in Knossos, the heart of Crete, around 1700 BCE, as a skilled mason in the sprawling palace complex that dominates the Kephala Hill. The air carries the scent of olive groves and the distant sea, where Minoan ships ply trade routes across the Aegean, exchanging fresco-painted pottery and bronze ingots for tin from distant lands, as evidenced by archaeological finds in shipwrecks, like Uluburan. Knossos, excavated in the early 20th century by Arthur Evans, reveals a multi-level structure of over 1,300 rooms, its gypsum-faced walls and light wells creating a labyrinthine layout that later inspired Greek myths of the Minotaurs. Prison. As a builder, your hands shaped the very stones that formed this intricate edifice, perhaps unknowingly crafting what legends will call Daedalus' maze, a reverent trap designed under divine auspices to contain chaos, while Themis, the Titaness of divine order and justice, watches from mythic shadows. Her scales tipping toward ominous portents, your day begins at dawn, chipping away at soft limestone blocks quarried from nearby hills, using bronze chisels and mallets forged in palace. Workshops, where linear A script undeciphered, but recording inventories lists rations of copper and tools for artisans like you. The palace, rebuilt after earthquakes around 1700 BCE, as stratigraphic layers show, serves not just as King Minos' residence, but as a center of administration and ritual, its corridors twisting like a divine battle plan to confuse intruders or symbolize the gods. Complex will. You work alongside teams of laborers, hauling timber from cypress groves imported from Cyprus when local supplies dwindle, as pollen analysis from cores indicates, to frame grand halls adorned with bull-leaping frescoes evoking the Minotaur. Myth where Poseidon sends a bull to curse Minos' line. Themis's influence lingers in oracles consulted by priestesses, their clay tablets invoking balance and warning against hubris in human designs that mimic godly deceptions. Life in Knossos sustains you through community bonds. Your family dwells in a modest stone house within the palace's lower town, bartering your masonry skills for barley flatbreads and fish caught in reed traps. Along the Keratos River, whose engineered channels irrigate fields, much like the advanced plumbing systems piping fresh water through terracotta conduits in the palace itself. Communal gatherings in the central court feature dances and offerings to the snake goddess, her figurines unearthed in shrine rooms, fostering unity amid the island's prosperity. Yet, whispers of divine discontent circulate. Scouts report seismic tremors interpreted as portents from Themis, whose gloomy scales judge the moral order disrupted by Minos' demands. Your task intensifies as you lay foundations for deeper chambers, etching motifs of double axis labyrinth symbols into walls, perhaps to sanctify a structure meant to house a monstrous secret, blending reverence with strategy against foes or fate. As you align a massive gypsum slab under the midday sun, elders inscribe administrative tablets to allocate resources, upholding a semblance of justice in trade disputes with Mycenaean merchants arriving by sea. The palace's design, with its hidden staircases and storage pithoi holding olive oil for years, reflects a cunning plan to outwit calamity, echoing Titan myths of uprising against cosmic order. Your apprentice, a young nephew smoothing plaster, with seashell tools, questions the maze's purpose, fearing it invites retribution for tampering with divine boundaries. Omens abound, birds circling unnaturally, as later Greek lore attributes to prophetic signs hinting at doom if balance falters. The structure grows, a reverent layer of stone and myth, but tension builds as Minos' council debates its true intent. A trap for enemies, or a prison for the god's wrath? You pause, chisel in hand, pondering Themis' verdict on such deceptions. What shadows will deepen when the labyrinth's paths fully entwine, testing the scales of justice in Crete's unfolding destiny? Deepening the labyrinth's desik new labor on Knossos, circa 1700 BCE. Your mason's hands calloused from shaping limestone blocks within the palace's ever-expanding maze. On Crete's Kephala Hill, the air hums with the rhythmic clink of bronze tools and the faint aroma of drying plaster as Minoan Knossos thrives as a trade nexus. Its port bustling with ships carrying saffron-dyed textiles and faience beads, as evidenced by finds in Thera's Acriteria. The palace, partially uncovered by Arthur Evans, sprawls with convoluted corridors and storerooms, its design fueling myths of Daedalus's labyrinth, a reverent trap possibly meant to confine the Minotaur, a monstrous embodiment of divine wrath. Themis, titaness of divine law, looms over your work, her scales of justice tilting ominously, as priestesses in frescoed shrine rooms interpret seismic tremors, recorded in later Greek tales as signs of godly displeasure, warning against the hubris of Crete's ambitions. Your task intensifies, you carve intricate passages, guided by a master plan etched on clay tablets in Linear A, which, though undeciphered, likely detail architectural specifications as similar Mycenaean records suggest. The labyrinth's walls, adorned with labyrinth motifs, double axes symbolizing divine authority twist into dead ends, and hidden chambers designed to disorient invaders or cage a mythic beast, as whispered in council halls where Minos, or a figure like him, strategizes survival. Cypress beams, sourced from Crete's dwindling forests or traded from Cyprus, as pollen records indicate, support frescoed ceilings depicting bulls and dolphins, tying the structure to Poseidon's domain. Your nephew, now adept with a plumb line, assists in aligning gypsum slabs, but his unease grows, fearing the maze's purpose, perhaps a deceptive offering to appease gods or trap foes, invites Themis' judgment. Knossos' community sustains you amidst growing tension. Your family, housed in a stone dwelling near the palace, barters your stonework for olives and wool, while terracotta pipes, engineered like those found in Minoan sanitation systems, deliver water to your home. Communal feasts in the central court, once vibrant with lyre music and roasted fish, grow sparse as grain stores dwindle. hinted at in Linear A inventories noting reduced rations. Elders, inscribing tablets to resolve merchant disputes, strive to uphold Themis' moral order. But rumors of Minos' defiance, perhaps his refusal to sacrifice to Poseidon. As later myths recount stir unrest, the labyrinth, with its warren of passages, mirrors a divine battle plan, possibly inspired by Titan uprising tales of rebellion against cosmic rule. Yet oracles warn that such cunning risks divine retribution. Achaean traders, arriving with bronze weapons, Inososes, wealth, their ships anchoring off Amnisos, as archaeological harbor remains confirm. Your work shapes a hollow chamber deep within the maze, its walls etched with serpentine motifs. Perhaps a nod to the snake goddess or a trap for something monstrous. Themis' presence feels heavy. Priestesses burn thyme in rituals, their chants, invoking balance, but omens cracks in palace walls. Unusual tides signal her gloomy scales tipping toward doom. Your nephew, smoothing plaster under torchlight, questions if the maze's complexity defies nature's order. His doubt echoing your own as you align a massive lintel. The palace's prosperity, built on trade and ingenuity, teeters as seismic activity, noted in Crete's geological record, hints at catastrophe. As you pause, dust settling on your tunic, the labyrinth nears completion. Its purpose veiled in reverence and strategy. Minos' council debates its role: sanctuary, prison, or deception, while Themis' justice looms. Will the maze's twisting paths shield Knossos from mortal or divine threats? Or will they ensnare its creators in a trap of their own making? The labyrinth's reckoning. You stand in Knossos, circa 1700 BCE. Amidst the now silent palace on Crete's Kephala hill, your mason's tools idle as the labyrinth you helped carve lies complete. Its limestone corridors a testament to Minoan ingenuity and mythic ambition. The air is heavy with dust and the faint echo of seismic tremors, which archaeological records link to Crete's frequent earthquakes, foreshadowing the palace's decline as unearthed by Arthur Evans. Knossos, once a vibrant trade hub with ships unloading tin and amber at Amnisos, now faces Themis' judgment, her scales of divine justice weighing the hubris. Woven into the labyrinth's design, a structure born of reverence yet steeped in deception, its twisting paths evoking Daedalus' maze and the Minotaur's prison of later Greek myths. The labyrinth, with its labyrinth-etched walls and hidden chambers, stands as both sanctuary and trap, its purpose whether to cage a monster or outwit foes now tested by fate. The palace's fall looms as omens, like cracked frescoes and erratic tides noted in Minoan records. Fulfill oracle's warnings. Your final task was sealing a vast chamber. Its serpentine carvings a nod to the snake goddess or a mythic beast. But tremors shook the gypsum walls as you worked, hinting at Poseidon's wrath. As later tales attribute to Minos' defiance, Achaean traders, once bartering bronze for sovereign, now linger with veiled threats. Their ships massing off the coast as harbor finds suggest rising tensions. The labyrinth, meant to protect Knossos' wealth pithoi brimming with olive oil, as Linear A inventory's catalogue failed to shield it from divine or mortal reckoning. Your nephew, once your apprentice, salvages broken tools. His fears of the maze's purpose, proven as its complexity, could not avert collapse. Mirroring Titan uprising myths where ambition courts ruin, Knossos' community phrase, terracotta pipes, once channeling water like advanced Minoan systems, clog with debris, and communal feasts of fish and barley cease, replaced by scavenging. As famine grips the lower town, elders' clay tablets, meant to uphold Themis' order in trade disputes, lie shattered, their authority undone. Your family, bartering stonework for survival, joins survivors fleeing to hillside villages, as archaeological layers show post-collapse migrations. The labyrinth, a reverent strategy to defy chaos, became a symbol of hubris, its paths entangling Knossos in Themis' verdict. Myths later weave this into tales of Theseus and the Minotaur. But you teach your nephew to carve simple hearths, not grand traps, honoring humility over deception. The palace's ruin, dated to around 1600 BCE by pottery shards, reshapes Aegean trade, weakening Minoan dominance as Mycenaeans rise. Evidenced by their fortified citadels, Themis' scales enduring in Greek. Lore warned that cunning without balance invites doom. A lesson echoing in modern systems, be it governance or architecture, where overreach risks collapse. Knossos' remnants, uncovered centuries later, revealed gypsum traces and bull frescoes, whispering of a civilization's ambition and its cost. As you salvage a limestone block under a quiet sky, you ponder resilience, survivors rebuild, bartering. With mainlanders, their humility a counterpoint to past pride, the labyrinth's legacy. Both trap and tomb asks what endures when divine plans falter. What lessons might Knossos' fall, judged by Themis' gloomy scales, offer today's builders of grand designs, balancing innovation with the humility to survive nature's or fate's inevitable tests? The gloomy building labyrinth traps in Greek mythology, siege of Troy under moral order's shadow, and Chimera's survival in mythic realms, crafting defenses in a besieged city. You awaken in Troy. Circa 1250 BCE, a stonecutter shaping limestone blocks in a workshop near the city's formidable walls, perched on the Hessalic hill. Later excavated by Heinrich Schliemann, Troy, a thriving trade hub linking Anatolia and the Aegean, buzzes with merchants bartering amber and faience as archaeological finds of Troy VI attest. Your task is to carve fortifications and intricate structures, perhaps inspired by myths of labyrinthine traps, designed to thwart invaders in a city under the shadow of Themis, tightness of divine law, whose scales judge moral order. Her presence looms in oracles warning of doom, as Hittite texts reference regional conflicts and Troy's wealth tempts Achaean aggression, setting the stage for tales later woven into Homer's Iliad. Your day begins at dawn, chiseling limestone, quarried from nearby hills using bronze tools forged in Troy's forges, where linear be tablets, found in nearby Pylos, record allocations of copper for artisans like you. The city's walls, layered with sloped masonry to deter scaling, as Schliemann's deeks revealed, are your primary focus, but rumors swirl of a new project, a labyrinthine trap, possibly a deceptive structure or passage evoking mythic tales of the Chimera, fire-breathing beast symbolizing chaos that Troy's defenses aim to contain. You etch spiral motifs into gateposts, perhaps as talismans, while working alongside masons reinforcing towers against Achaean battering rams, hinted at in Hittite annals describing sieges. Themis' moral order, upheld by elders inscribing clay tablets to settle trade disputes, feels strained as Troy's leaders, possibly a Priam-like council, devise strategies blending reverence and cunning. Troy's community sustains you through tight-knit bonds. Your family, dwelling in a mud-brick home in the lower city, barters your stonework for smoked fish and will dyed with murex purple, a trade staple evidenced by shell middens. Communal feasts in the citadel's courtyard, featuring roasted goat and barley flatbreads, foster unity, while cisterns, engineered like Mycenaean systems, store rainwater, ensuring survival as siege threats loom, yet tension grips the city. Scouts report Achaean ships massing off the Scamander plain, their bronze spears glinting, as described in later epic traditions. Your apprentice, a young cousin, polishes stones but whispers fears of divine retribution, as oracles invoke Themis' gloomy scales, warning that Troy's pride, its towering walls and cunning plans, may provoke the gods. Your latest task involves carving a hidden passage beneath the walls, its entrance concealed by a false slab, possibly part of a labyrinthine defense to mislead invaders. Echoing myths of the Chimera's elusive terror, the council's plan, shrouded in secrecy, blends reverence for divine protection with strategic deception. As clay tablets note offerings to Apollo to avert calamity, the Chimera's mythic survival, a tale of resilience against heroes like Bellerophon, inspires your work, but also unease. Will such traps defy Themis' justice? As you align a massive lintel under flickering torchlight, Achaean campfires dot the horizon, their intent unclear but ominous. The city's fate teeters, its defenses both a shield and a challenge to divine order. As you pause, dust settling on your tunic, the labyrinthine trap takes shape, a reverent yet perilous gambit. Will Troy's carved defenses, steeped in mythic defiance, hold against the Achaeans, or will Themis' scales tip toward doom? Judging the city's cunning as hubris, fortifying Troy's cunning defensisae labor in Troy. Circa 1250 BCE, your stonecutters' hands shaping limestone blocks. Near the city's towering walls on the Hyssalic hill, their strength later uncovered by Heinrich Schliemann. The air carries the tang of salt from the nearby Dardanelles, and the faint smoke of Achaean campfires as Troy, a vital trade hub, faces an escalating siege. Its markets, once rich with amber and pottery, now rationing goods, as evidenced by Troy. VII's archaeological layers. Your work focuses on a labyrinthine trapper network of hidden passages and false chambers beneath. The city, designed to outwit invaders. Its concept rooted in myths of the Chimera, a monstrous symbol of chaos that Troy's leaders seek to contain. Themis, titaness of divine law, casts a heavy shadow, her scales weighing Troy's moral order, as oracles echoed in later Greek tales, warn of retribution for cunning that defies divine balance. Your task intensifies, you carve a concealed tunnel, its walls etched with spiral motifs to invoke divine protection, possibly inspired by the Chimera's elusive nature as described in Hesiod's Theogony. Bronze tools, their supply recorded on linear tablets from nearby regions, chip away at limestone, creating dead-end paths to trap Achaean scouts whose ships choke the Scamander plain. As Hittite texts note regional warfare, the council, perhaps, led by a Priam-like figure, envisions the labyrinth as a reverent strategy, blending offerings to Apollo evidenced by votive figurines found in Troy's sanctuaries, with deception to thwart the siege. Your cousin, now skilled with a mallet, assists but fears the trap's hubris, his doubts mirroring your own as you seal a hidden chamber, its purpose veiled, a refuge or a lure for enemies. Troy's community clings to resilience, your family. In a mudbrick home, barters your carvings for dwindling supplies of fish and wool, while cisterns, modeled on Mycenaean engineering, strain to provide water. As siege-induced scarcity grips the city, hinted at in clay tablet inventories. Communal feasts, once vibrant with roasted goat in the citadel's courtyard, now ration barley. Yet elders inscribe tablets to maintain Themis' order, settling disputes over grain allocations. Achaean battering rams, their threat recorded. In epic traditions, pound the outer walls, testing their sloped design, while scouts probe for weaknesses, unaware of your hidden passages. The Chimera myth, a tale of survival against overwhelming odds, fuels Troy's defiance. But oracles warn that Themis' gloomy scales may judge such cunning as pride, inviting divine wrath. As you work under torchlight, aligning a massive slab to conceal a tunnel entrance. Tremors shake the ground. Geological traces later confirm seismic activity in the region, interpreted as signs of Poseidon's anger, as later myths linked to Troy's fate. Your cousin, polishing a gatepost, questions if the labyrinth defies nature's balance, echoing Titan uprising tales where mortals challenge gods. The council's secrecy deepens, their clay tablets recording offerings to appease divine forces. Yet whispers of a grander deception, a structure beyond mere tunnels, circulate. Perhaps a precursor to the Trojan horse, Troy's walls stand, firm, but the labyrinth's purpose, both reverent and perilous, stirs unease as Achaean fires grow closer. Pausing amidst limestone dust, you survey the hidden passage, a testament to Troy's ingenuity and defiance. Will this labyrinthine trap, blending mythic reverence with strategic guile, save the city from the Achaean siege? Or will Themis' scales condemn Troy's ambition as a fatal overreach? The fall of Troy's labyrinthine defensisae stand amidst the ruins of Troy, circa 1250 BCE, your stonecutters' tools silent as the city on the Hyssalic hill, excavated centuries later by Heinrich Schliemann, lies breached. The labyrinthine trap you carved hidden passages, and false chambers beneath Troy's limestone walls failed to repel the Achaeans whose cunning, later immortalized in Homer's Iliad, outmatched your defenses. Themis, tightness of divine law, has weighed Troy's hubris, her gloomy scales delivering judgment as the city, once a trade hub rich with amber and faience, burns, its destruction evidenced by Troy the Seventh's charred layers. The Chimera's mythic survival, a symbol of defiance against chaos, inspired your work. But the labyrinth, meant to protect, became a tomb, its deceptive paths unable to avert doom. The Achaeans, perhaps guided by an Odysseus-like strategist, exploited Troy's defenses, navigating your hidden tunnels intended to trap invaders with devastating precision. As epic traditions suggest, Hittite texts noting regional sieges align with the breached walls, their sloped masonry crumbling. Under battering rams, your final task was sealing a secret passage, its spiral motifs a plea for divine favor. But seismic tremors recorded in the region's geological record cracked the foundations, signaling Poseidon's wrath as later myths tie to Troy's. For your cousin, once your apprentice, salvages broken stones. Mourning neighbors lost in the sack, as the community phrase, cisterns, engineered like Mycenaean cisterns, run dry, and communal feasts of roasted goat give way to scavenging, with linear tablets from nearby regions noting famine's grip. Troy's elders, their clay tablets burned, could no longer uphold Themis's moral order, their authority shattered as Achaean looters plundered pottery and gold. As archaeological finds confirm, your family, bartering stonework for survival, joins survivors fleeing to nearby villages, evidenced by post-siege settlement traces. The labyrinth, a reverent yet cunning plan, embodied Troy's pride, mirroring Titan uprising myths where ambition invites divine retribution. The Chimeras. Legacy survival through chaos proved fleeting, as the trap's complexity failed to outwit mortal or divine judgment. You teach your cousin to carve simple tools, not deceptive passages, honoring Themis's call for humility over hubris. Troy's fall, dated to around 1250 BCE by pottery shards, reshapes Aegean trade, weakening networks as Mycenaean powers rise, their fortified citadels evidencing a shift in dominance. Themis's scales, enduring in Greek lore, warned that cunning without balance courts collapse, a lesson resonant in modern strategies, be it diplomacy or urban planning, where overreach risks ruin. The labyrinth's remnants, uncovered with Troy's scorched walls, whisper of ambition's cost, their spiral motifs a cautionary echo of pride. As you salvage a limestone block under a smouldering sky, resilience emerges, survivors rebuild. Bartering with mainlanders, their humility a counterpoint to Troy's lost glory. The Chimera's myth, though defeated, lingers as a reminder of survival's tenacity. Centuries later, archaeologists uncover your workshop's debris, its stones bearing traces of a desperate defense. Themis's justice, echoed in tales of Troy's doom, asks what endures when mortal plans falter. As you walk away from the ruins, what might Troy's fallen labyrinth teach us about balancing cunning with wisdom in the face of inevitable challenges? The timeless verdict of Themis, Greek mythology's Amazon warrior's assault, and forging divine weapons in Nemesis' gloomy Legans-fidging blades under divine scrutiny. You awaken in a forge on the banks of the Thermodon River, circa 1200 BCE, a metalsmith in the heart of the Amazon territory, a region later tied to northern Anatolia near modern Turkey. As described in Greek myths and hinted at in Hittite texts, the air hums with the clang of bronze hammers and the scent of molten metal, as you craft weapons for the legendary Amazon warriors, a matriarchal society revered and feared in tales, later woven into Homer's Iliad and the Argonautica. Your task is to forge bronze swords and spearheads, possibly imbued with divine significance, under the watchful gaze of Themis, Titaness of divine law. Whose scales weigh the moral order of your craft? Her sister, Nemesis, goddess of retribution, looms in oracles, her gloomy legends warning of vengeance against hubris. As your weapons arm the Amazons for a looming assault, your day begins at dawn, heating a mudbrick furnace fed by charcoal from nearby forests, its design akin to smelting pits found in Anatolian archaeological sites. U-shaped bronze ingots traded from Cyprus, as evidenced by shipwrecked cargoes like Alaburan into blades, hammering them on stone anvils while inscribing intricate motifs, perhaps of snakes or stars. To invoke divine favor, these weapons, destined for Amazon warriors, are not mere tools but symbols of their defiance. As myths recount their battles against Greeks like Theseus, linear A tablets, found in nearby regions, record metal allocations for artisans like you, ensuring supply. Amidst growing tensions, Themis' presence is felt in rituals. Priestesses burn herbs by the river, their chants invoking balance, as Hittite records note local cults honoring justice deities. The Amazon community sustains you through tight bonds, your family living in a timber-framed home by the Thermodon barters your blades for goat hides and barley, while communal feasts of roasted fish strengthen ties under torchlit gatherings, where warriors train with your weapons. Cisterns dug into the clay-rich soil store rainwater, their engineering simpler but akin to Minoan systems, ensuring survival as rumors of Greek expeditions spread, hinted at in epic traditions. Your apprentice, a young niece, polishes spearheads, but fears their purpose, as oracles warn of Nemesis's wrath against those who wield power without restraint. The Amazons, led by a queen like Penthesilea, plan an assault perhaps on a Greek outpost blending reverence for divine will with martial ambition, their strategy echoing myths of Titan uprisings against cosmic order. As you hammer a blade's edge, the Thermodon's current carries whispers of approaching ships, possibly Achaean scouts probing the coast. As archaeological finds of Greek pottery in Anatolia suggest, your weapons, etched with symbols of divine protection, are meant to uphold the Amazon's autonomy. Yet the oracle's ominous tone echoed in later tales of Nemesis punishing pride casts doubt. Themis' scales invoked in clay inscriptions, resolving trade disputes among local tribes, demand balance. But the Amazon's boldness risks tipping them toward doom. Your niece quenching a red-hot blade questions if your craft invites retribution by arming defiance. The forge's glow illuminates your work, but the weight of divine judgment lingers. Pausing as sparks fly, you survey the gleaming swords, each a testament to skill and reverence. Will these weapons, forged under Themis' gaze, secure the Amazons' victory, or will Nemesis's gloomy verdict strike, punishing ambition in the clash to come? Arming the Amazon's defiant stand you toil on in your forge by the Thermodon River, circa 1200 BCE. The heat of the furnace searing your skin as you craft bronze weapons. For the Amazon warriors in their Anatolian stronghold, a region later linked to myths of their fierce independence as recounted in the Iliad and Argonautica. The clang of your hammer on molten ingots echoes across the river bank, where reeds sway and Greek ships lurk on the horizon, their presence hinted at by pottery shards found in coastal Anatolian sites. Your work forging, swords and spearheads, etched with serpent motifs, fuels the Amazons' preparations for an assault, perhaps on an Achaean outpost, as their queen, a figure like Penthesilea, blends reverence for divine will with martial strategy. Themis, tightness of divine law, watches over your craft, her scales measuring moral order, while Nemesis, goddess of retribution, casts a shadow, her gloomy legends warning of vengeance against the hubris of unchecked ambition. Your task grows urgent. You shape bronze, sourced from Cypriot trade routes as Alaburan shipwreck finds confirm, into blades designed for both combat and ritual, their starry engravings invoking divine protection as seen in votive offerings unearthed in local sanctuaries. Linear A tablets used in nearby trade hubs track metal rations, ensuring your forges supply despite looming threats. The Amazons train nearby, their war cries mingling with the river's flow, wielding your weapons in drills that mirror myths of their battles against Theseus or Achilles. Your niece, now skilled at tempering blades, assists but trembles at oracles, warnings inscribed on clay by priestesses that Nemesis may punish the Amazons' defiance. As later Greek tales recount her role in balancing fate, the Amazon community binds you tightly. Your family, housed in a timber and clay home, barters your spearheads for wool and fish, while communal feasts roasted goat under starlit skies sustain morale, though rations dwindle, as clay inventories suggest siege preparations. Cisterns, carved into the riverbank's clay, hold water, their design echoing Minoan engineering, but strain under growing demand. Elders, resolving disputes over trade with neighboring Scythians, uphold Themis' order, their tablets echoing. Hittite records of local governance, yet tension rises. Achaean scouts, their bronze armor glinting, probe the coast, as archaeological traces of Greek encampments indicate. The Amazons' assault plan, a reverent yet bold strike, draws on Titan uprising myths, where defiance challenges divine order. But oracles warn that Themis' scales may tip toward doom if pride overshadows wisdom. As you quench a glowing sword. Seismic tremors common in Anatolia's geological record rattle the forge, interpreted as signs of divine discontent, perhaps Artemis's anger, as myths tie her to the Amazon's protection. Your niece, polishing a spearhead, questions if your weapons, though crafted with reverence, invite Nemesis's wrath by arming a war that defies balance. The council's secrecy deepens, their rituals burning fine to appease gods recorded on clay, yet whispers of a grander strategy, perhaps a trap, circulate. The forge's fire illuminates your work, but the weight of divine judgment grows heavier as Achaean ships draw closer, their intent clear in the glint of their sails. Pausing amidst the forge's heat, you survey the gleaming arsenal, a testament to skill and defiance. Will these weapons, forged under Themis' watchful gaze, secure the Amazon's triumph, or will Nemesis's gloomy verdict strike, condemning their ambition in the battle ahead? The Amazon's defeat and Nemesis's verdict. You stand amidst the smouldering ruins of your forge, by the Thermodon River, circa 1200 BCE. Your tools silent as the Amazon's stronghold in northern Anatolia lies in disarray, its fate sealed by an Achaean assault later echoed in myths of the Iliad and Argonautica. The bronze swords and spearheads you crafted, etched with serpent and star motifs, now lie scattered, their divine inscriptions failing to shield the Amazons from defeat. Themis, tightness of divine law, has weighed their ambition her scales, delivering a somber judgment, while Nemesis, goddess of retribution, exacts her toll, her gloomy legends fulfilled as the warrior's hubris embodied. In their bold assault meets its reckoning. Archaeological traces of burnt settlements in Anatolia align with this collapse, hinting at the clash that shattered the Amazon's defiance. The Achaeans, possibly led by a Theseus-like figure, overwhelmed the Amazon's defenses, their strategy outmatching the weapons you forged, as epic traditions suggest cunning trumped valor. Your final task was tempering a ceremonial blade meant to honor Artemis. But seismic tremors common in Anatolia's geological record cracked the forge's foundation, signaling divine wrath as later myths tied to Nemesis's vengeance. The Amazon's assault, a reverent yet audacious strike on a Greek outpost, faltered. Their bronze blades, though masterfully crafted, could not counter Achaean numbers, evidenced by Greek pottery shards found in nearby coastal sites. Your niece, once your apprentice, salvages a broken spearhead, mourning fallen warriors, as the community's bonds unravel. Cisterns, carved into the riverbank, run dry, and communal feasts of fish and goat cease, replaced by scavenging as clay tablets note famine's grip. Elders, their inscriptions burned, can no longer uphold Themis' moral order, their authority lost as Achaean looters seize bronze and hides, as archaeological finds confirm. Your family, bartering scraps of metal for survival, joins survivors, fleeing to Scythian lands, evidenced by post-conflict migration traces. The Amazon's defiance, inspired by Titan uprising myths, mirrored the Chimera's resilience but invited Nemesis's judgment. Their weapons your life's work proving futile against divine balance. You teach your niece to craft simple tools, not divine blades, honoring Themis' call for humility over pride. The defeat, dated to around 1200 BCE by regional artifacts, weakens Anatolian trade networks, strengthening Greek dominance as Mycenaean fortifications suggest. Themis' scales, enduring in Greek lore, warn that ambition without restraint courts ruin. A lesson echoing in modern endeavors, be it warfare or policy where unchecked pride risks collapse. Nemesis's verdict, carved into the Amazon's fall, resonates in the forge's ashes. Its serpent motifs a reminder of hubris's cost. As you salvage a bronze fragment under a quiet sky, resilience emerges, survivors adapt, bartering with neighbors, their humility a counterpoint to lost glory. The Amazon's legacy, though defeated, lives in myths of their valor, whispering of defiance's limits. Centuries later, archaeologists uncover your forge's remnants, their bronze traces telling of a craft that armed a doomed stand. What might the Amazon's fall, judged by Themis and Nemesis, teach us about balancing courage, With wisdom in crafting tools, whether weapons or ideas for battles that shape our fate,